Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. I evolve infinitely in the Marvel world. Chapter 41. Of course, in addition to eating, there is also the path of adaptive evolution. But if you want to improve your strength through adaptive evolution, you need to go to a place that makes you feel very uncomfortable and is harmful to your body. If you stay there for a period of time, your body will automatically evolve the ability to resist. The harsher the environment, the faster the adaptation and evolution. Harvey teaches Tony Stark some of the experiences he has gained in recent years. He is not afraid that Tony Stark will be stronger than him, so he will not be stingy with these experiences at all. A harsh environment, such as an extremely dry desert or something like that. Tony Stark was thoughtful when he heard this. No, the surface of the desert will only make you feel a little uncomfortable. It will only make you not afraid of the heat. But if you want to achieve deeper evolution in the desert, you need to take the initiative to step into the underground of the desert and be buried alive by the yellow sand for a period of time. The tremendous pressure that being buried alive in the sand puts on your body will give you deep abilities. Similarly, the same goes for the sea. As long as you can stay for a period of time, you will definitely be able to evolve the ability to breathe in the sea. But if you want to be unafraid of water pressure and step into the deep sea, you need to spend some time adapting to evolution. Harvey shook his head when he heard this and explained. It sounds like if you want to adapt to evolution, you have to risk your life. Tony Stark originally wanted to do both, but now that he heard what Harvey Ambalaka said, his inner thoughts were immediately dismissed. It's essentially life-threatening, because adaptive evolution is in extreme environments. When there is no choice, it quickly adapts to the environment to enhance its own survival ability. Of course you want to travel the universe directly with your body, go to various harsh environments, explore the truth, and fight various powerful enemies at the same time. Only by being able to make all the preparations you can imagine and strengthening yourself can you ensure your survival. Harvey nodded sympathetically upon hearing this and said slowly, "The body travels in the void." When Tony Stark heard this, he recalled in his mind the void creatures he had just seen as big as a galaxy. Tony Stark couldn't understand how powerful they were. But he knows one thing. If he really evolves to that point, let alone traveling around the universe is simply a back garden. Various radiation disasters in the universe, such as gamma rays, are nothing to mention to that terrifying void creature. And those monsters that have evolved to unimaginable levels are all just one of the powers that Harvey Ambalaka has mastered. Not to mention that he has evolved to the same level as Harvey Ambalaka. If he just wants to evolve to the ultimate level of one of the powers that Harvey Ambalaka masters, it will probably take an incalculable amount of time. Fortunately, his lifespan is not limited to just 100 years. As long as he lives long enough, he will one day be able to peer into the truth of the void and gain one of the powers. And as the first one to join the void, Tony Stark felt that it was necessary for him to evolve more before others joined the void, so that those who came late would know what it means to be a forerunner. That sounds really exciting. Tony Stark had a smile on his face. In the past, Tony Stark would have only dared to think that he could enter the universe relying on the technology he invented. As long as he continues to study his steel armor in depth, traveling around places outside the blue star should not be a dream, but an achievable ideal. However, physically entering the universe directly was something he had never dared to think about in the past. Because even if the universe is put aside, human beings need to breathe this difficult condition. Just the intense ultraviolet light without the ozone layer can kill him directly, not to mention all kinds of radiation and rays. Don't be too happy too soon. Even if you join the void, it doesn't mean you can do whatever you want now. There are some big shots on Blue Star. If you provoke them, they will bring death to you who are still weak now. Harvey reminded, seeing Tony Stark's smile. Big shot, that Captain Marvel you're talking about. When Tony Stark heard this, he immediately thought of a name and asked. That Captain Marvel is currently helping creatures on various planets in various places in the universe, so you don't need to worry about it for the time being. The most important thing to pay attention to now is the Supreme Mage Ancient One. She has guarded Blue Star for hundreds of years. Because Tony Stark officially joined the Void and was on the same side as him, Harvey also provided more information. To prevent Tony Stark from doing something stupid and misbehaving, he finally recruited the Ancient One, the Sorcerer Supreme. guarding mankind for hundreds of years. That Supreme Mage Ancient One is not human either. Tony Stark asked in confusion when he heard this. After all, he had never heard of anyone living for more than 150 years. Now Harvey Ambalaka told him that it was hundreds of years ago, which made him feel a little incredible. She is a human being, but she has mastered the power of magic and extended her life through some means. Generally, she won't interfere easily with things on the material level, because she is in charge of the magical world and enemies from all dimensions. Harvey heard this and spoke. I always thought magic was just fiction. But now that I have met you and joined the Void, it seems that it is not impossible to understand that there are people in the universe who master magic. Tony Stark thought for a moment after hearing this, and murmured to himself. Let alone the universe, Blue Star alone has many powers that ordinary people cannot understand. Now you have just escaped from the category of human beings. For ordinary people, your power will soon exceed common sense. But compared to those powerful people who have mastered various superpowers and magic, you are at best an ant who knows how to fight hard. Harvey verbally hammered Tony Stark. Although I know I am weak now, can you at least describe me as a human being? When Tony Stark heard this, the fire in his heart seemed to be poured with cold water. He did not question Harvey Ambalaka's words, but wanted to correct them. He has lived as a human for nearly 40 years. Although joining the Void has caused huge changes in his race and the world he comes into contact with, even if his life level is different, at least his thoughts are still human. I'm just talking about the difference in power, but it's good that you have this awareness. It will allow you to better resist the temptation of desire in the future. After hearing this, Harvey glanced at Tony Stark with admiration and praised him. How strong is the Supreme Mage Ancient One? Tell us more soon, and wait until Peebo joins us later. I can then explain it to her. Tony Stark took everything Harvey Ambalaka said to heart and asked curiously. Now that he has joined the Void in Harvey Ambalaka's camp, he should be truly exposed to the extraordinary world that humans cannot. As for the extraordinary world, I know too little information. When Harvey saw Tony Stark's eager understanding and bragging to Peebo, he didn't hide it intentionally. Ancient One has mastered countless magics and is the supreme mage of Blue Star. She is a famous existence in the entire universe. Because of her existence, many enemies dare not mess with Blue Star. If I provoke her, it will cause some trouble at most, but if you provoke her, you will definitely die now. So be careful, at least don't do whatever you want until you become stronger. But she doesn't have many years to live. So remember one thing, just keep growing and don't make too much noise. After she dies, you should have a lot of power. Harvey explained the information he knew. Will the Ancient One, the Sorcerer Supreme, die? Why, didn't you say that she extended her life through some means? Since you can live for hundreds of years, then extending your life for thousands of years shouldn't be a problem, right? Tony Stark was not happy when he heard this, but was a little incomprehensible. The Ancient One, the Sorcerer Supreme, may become his enemy, but the Ancient One, the Sorcerer Supreme, has guarded Blue Star for hundreds of years. And Harvey also said that it was because of the Supreme Mage Ancient One that some foreign enemies in the universe did not dare to attack Blue Star. If such a big shot dies, Blue Star's situation may be in danger. 2017. You mean the Supreme Mage Ancient One will not survive 2017, so Blue Star will encounter a terrible enemy? Immediately, Tony Stark realized something, looked at Harvey Ambalaka with a solemn face and asked. If the Supreme Mage Ancient One wants to extend her life, she can indeed continue to live. But she will die in the next few years. As for the detailed reason, I won't explain it. Harvey saw Tony Stark reacting so quickly and nodded. There was a way to extend her life but she died. Does it mean she didn't want to live anymore? Tony Stark said with a complicated expression when he heard that the reason could not be discussed in detail. Well, although she has lived for many years and has mastered countless magical powers, she is very powerful. But she is still a human being, and special means are needed to survive. Harvey saw that Tony Stark had directly understood this level, so he didn't hide it and spoke. It sounds like that kind of life-extending method is not a good one. Then Harvey Ambalaka, can't you let her join the Void? According to her strength, if she joins the Void, she will become a very powerful companion, right? Tony Stark also understood after hearing this. I would like to do that, but only her death can create the birth of a new supreme mage, so her death is doomed. Of course, Harvey also desperately hoped in his heart to win over Ancient Yi to join the Void. The more powerful creatures he attracts to join the Void, the more Void energy he obtains. It was only after Stephen Strang witnessed the death of the Ancient One that he truly embarked on the path of the Supreme Mage and fully utilized his talents and abilities in magic. Master Ji Yi can also use this to truly relieve himself of his responsibilities and fall into a long sleep. The Void is very tempting to creatures seeking power and a longer lifespan. It wouldn't be too difficult for him to win over a science geek like Tony Stark, other superpowers, and all the power-hungry creatures in the universe. But for Ji Yi, she already has the power, and she can also have the lifespan. So the two best temptations are unlikely to have much effect, and the Ancient One will definitely view the Void as evil. Therefore, he wanted to win over Ancient One and make it very difficult for him to accept joining the Void. This actually makes Harvey quite uncomfortable, because to Harvey, the Ancient Pair is like a gold mine lying there, but he cannot find a way to mine the gold mine. Since a new Supreme Mage has appeared, why will there be an enemy in 2017? Tony Stark said a little strangely when he heard this. But as soon as he asked the question, Tony Stark thought for a moment and soon realized the problem, with a look of realization on his face. Just as you think, even if you accept the inheritance of powerful power, your power will always grow over time. Seeing that Tony had figured it out on his own, Harvey nodded and said affirmatively. I don't know how much I can grow in 8 years. Tony Stark clenched his fists and said with some expectation and some worry. If Harvey Ambalaka was willing to help, he wouldn't be worried at all. Because he knew how powerful Harvey Ambalaka was. It's just that Harvey Ambalaka is not a blue star person, and human morality cannot affect Harvey Ambalaka's will and decision at all. Therefore, it is unknown whether Harvey Ambalaka will choose to help or choose to stand by when the time comes, so the only one who can rely on it is himself. I have told you my experience of evolution. How far you can evolve in the future needs to be explored by yourself. 8 years is either a long time or a short time. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. When the enemy really comes, it won't be too late. When Harvey saw Tony Stark's worried look, he understood it in his heart, so he said some words of comfort. But he couldn't say anything like a guarantee. At present, he only has the confidence that the purple sweet potato spirit will be unable to control him. As for whether he can win or not, he still has to see how far he can evolve. Well, the big shot you are talking about is not just the Supreme Mage Ancient One, right? Tony Stark heard these eyes flicker, decided to put these things behind him, and continued to ask. Except for the Ancient One and Captain Marvel, of course. There is also Odin, the Lord of the 9 Realms who rules the 9 worlds including Blue Star. His power is very strong, and now his men are always monitoring Blue Star's situation. So even if you join the Void, don't be too showy. Time will bring everything you want. Harvey also explained it again when he heard this. Tony Stark had witnessed the will of the Void, and after being baptized by magic and superpowers, he originally thought that his psychological acceptance had been greatly improved. Odin, the king of the gods, does that mean there is also Thor, the god of thunder? Or is it the Olympic Zeus? But the word Odin, the king of gods, suddenly popped up in Harvey Ambalaka's mouth, which really shocked Tony Stark and said with some uncertainty. It seems there is nothing wrong with your understanding. Harvey saw Tony understand the situation directly and said with a smile. What do you mean? The gods in various myths and legends on Blue Star are all real, but they all come from the universe. Although Tony Stark was taken aback, he quickly accepted it after hearing Harvey Ambalaka's confirmation and asked thoughtfully. Yes, Harvey nodded again and confirmed. Then their strength is as terrifying as what is recorded in the book. Tony Stark's face became serious when he was confirmed. Because human beings are limited by their strength, time, and vision. The legends recorded by humans are naturally exaggerated. However, there are still many true messages that have been passed down as legends, such as their innate abilities and mythical artifacts. Harvey explained briefly. If I hadn't come into contact with the Void, I wouldn't have believed that those myths and legends could be true. Tony Stark said with emotion after understanding some general situations. The reason why myths are called myths is because the people, objects and deeds recorded in myths all have powers that humans cannot imagine. There are sects and believers who believe in those gods. But for Tony Stark, who used to rely on science, those people were a little stupid. Because if there really is a God, Blue Star has encountered countless disasters, large and small, in the past many years, but no miracle has ever appeared. Instead of believing in God, it is better to believe in yourself. To put it bluntly, Tony Stark used to be an atheist. They believe that those myths are just deeds fabricated by some people, and it is impossible to distinguish between true and false. But now he understands, because those gods are not real local gods, but aliens who came to Blue Star from the universe. Whether they help humans does not depend on whether their beliefs are pious enough, but on whether the other person is kind-hearted and comes to help. At this time, Jarvis's voice rang. "Excuse me, sir. 2 whole ox dinners are ready for Mr. Harvey Ambalaka. They are also working hard to prepare many dishes that will be added in the future. They sent to ask if they want to send the whole cow feast first." Jarvis also knew that Tony and Harvey Ambalaka were talking about something important, but he still had to ask. "Just send them to the gate, don't let them in." After hearing this, Tony Stark glanced at the cracked wall and the bloody floor, and said, "Okay, sir." Jarvis also knew that the location of the restaurant on the second floor was not suitable for others to see at this time, so he did not ask why. "Harvey Ambalaka, would you mind sharing a whole beef feast for me to fill my stomach first?" Immediately, Tony Stark touched his belly, looked at Harvey Ambalaka and asked a little embarrassedly. Harvey also knows that Tony Stark has just tasted the beginning of being able to increase his strength by tasting many foods. "You said you were planning to treat me to a banquet. Of course I won't have a problem eating one less cow." The desire for food was even more fanatical, so Harvey didn't deliberately say that he was being stingy by inviting me. Anyway, as long as Tony Stark becomes a foodie, according to Tony Stark's character, he will have many opportunities to eat and drink in the future. "Thanks." Tony Stark laughed when he heard this. He had been very hungry for a long time. If he hadn't just gone out to eat and drink, which would have caused some trouble, he would have driven out to eat burgers or something like that. Soon the 2 whole ox banquets were delivered to the gate, and the money had already been transferred, so the delivery boys left quickly after delivering them. Tony and Harvey each pushed their own large table of food and walked inside. Tony closed the door immediately after pushing in. Although he was mentally prepared to be regarded as an alien by others, he had just joined the Void and could hide for as long as he could. Afterwards, Tony Stark didn't care about Harvey Ambalaka anymore, just grabbed the meat with his hands and started to feast on it. 1 cow is enough to feed many people, but under Tony Stark's astonishing appetite, it is disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The constant filling of life energy strengthens Tony Stark's cells. Now that he has just joined the Void, his body is still very weak, so every energy can bring obvious changes to him. In just 15 minutes, Tony Stark ate a cow. When Tony Stark finished eating, he felt stronger and stronger in his body, and felt happy both physically and mentally. But because of this devouring, Tony Stark had a lot of oil and sauce in the corners of his mouth. When Tony Stark was about to wash his face, he suddenly saw Harvey Ambalaka, who was a few meters away from him, eating elegantly and almost finishing his meal. The most important thing was that he found that there was no grease on Harvey Ambalaka's face or clothes. "If you don't just eat it with your hands, how come you can eat it as fast as me?" Tony compared himself and looked at Harvey Ambalaka with a strange look. "Habit is second nature." Harvey swallowed the meat in his mouth and said with a smile, "It seems I have to study hard." Tony Stark looked at himself after hearing this, and went directly to the bathroom after speaking. Although eating etiquette has never been something he needs to care about. Since most of the time he entertained guests, no one would say anything to him as long as his appearance was not unpleasant to the eyes. Even if it is the same in front of women, they will praise him for his true temperament or say that he has a good appetite. But this also needs to be compared. Although he didn't take a picture of his eating posture just now, if he thinks about it now compared with Harvey Ambalaka's extremely elegant eating movements, his movements can be described as rude in one word. In the future, when there are more compatriots in the Void, he will treat the other newcomers to a meal no matter what. When the time came to enjoy the banquet together, I didn't look elegant at all after devouring it. Just thinking about it, Tony Stark felt that the scene was a little funny. So in order to prevent others from seeing the joke, he still had to pay attention to these things that should be paid attention to in the future. Harvey didn't pay attention and continued to eat his food. After Tony Stark went into the bathroom and washed his face, he found that his appearance had not changed much. If there is a change, it is that my eyesight has become better. I can clearly see that my brown hair has become more colorful than yesterday, and I have a tendency to return to youth. Compared with the previous random strengthening of Harvey Ambulaka when he was treating himself, these changes are somewhat subtle. It's hard for Tony Stark to imagine what kind of strength Harvey Ambulaka has achieved now. But thinking about himself in the void, it is inevitable that Harvey Ambulaka will be strong. He still has a long way to go, and the most important thing is that he cannot be swallowed up by desire. Tony Stark patted his face and walked out of the bathroom not long after. More food began to arrive one after another. The delicacies for hundreds of people were all eaten by Tony and Harvey Ambulaka within a few hours. My appetite has never been better. After eating, Tony Stark touched his belly, lay flat on the ground without any scruples, and said with emotion, "It's time for me to leave. You can discuss the matter with Pei Bo. If she is willing, I can give her a chance." Harvey also finished enjoying the feast hosted by Tony Stark. He stood up with satisfaction and spoke. "Good. After Obadiah Stane's betrayal, the only people I can trust are Pepper and Jarvis. It is a great thing to have great power and a long life, but it is too lonely for a person to live forever. So I hope Peebo can stay with me for many more years. So I'm going to convince her no matter what. Harvey Ambulaka, even though I've said it several times, I still want to say it. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you also for your willingness to give Peebo a chance." Tony Stark also stood up from the ground after hearing this and said with a grateful expression, "Understood, please do your best." Harvey's eyes flickered when he heard this, nodded slightly to acknowledge Tony Stark's words, and then turned and left. This time he came to Stark Manor not only to eat and drink well, but also to gain more than he expected. Wait until he gets home and thinks carefully about which hero template he chooses to suit him better. After Harvey Ambulaka left, Jarvis scans my body now and compares it to who I was yesterday. Tony Stark went to the underground research room, looked at himself in the mirror, and said, "Sir, your current appearance and characteristics are equivalent to those of a 28-year-old person. There is no disease in your body. And the cells throughout your body have been greatly enhanced, and they are still increasing at a slow rate." Jarvis scanned Tony Stark and answered immediately, "Where is Peppa now?" When Tony Stark heard the news, he smiled and said, "Miss Pepper is resting in the room, playing tablet games." Miss Pepper said this was a rare day to rest, so I helped her block out the sounds of the outside world. She was not disturbed in any way. Jarvis heard this and spoke, "Smart, but help me wake her up now and ask her to come to the underground research room. Just say I have something to tell her." Upon hearing this, Tony Stark first praised Jarvis and then gave instructions. "Okay, your instructions have been conveyed to you." Jarvis also responded when he heard the words, and simultaneously conveyed it to Pei Bo. When Peebo heard Jarvis's words, he also walked out of the room. When Peebo walked down, the first thing he saw was Tony's back. But she found that Tony's back was extremely upright, and he had a high-spirited feeling. "Pepper, I have something to tell you. And I want you to promise me to keep it secret and never reveal it to anyone else." After hearing this, Tony turned around and looked at Peebo, his face extremely serious. "I bought it." When Peebo saw Tony turning around, he looked like a young man in his 20s, he screamed in disbelief. "Tony, what happened to you? You developed genetics." Pepper rubbed her eyes and walked a few steps in disbelief. Then she took a closer look at Tony's current appearance. Her heart was full of surprise, but her words were filled with excitement. Because the genetics developed by Tony are most likely related to lifespan. As long as there are no major side effects, this will become a treasure that countless women are keen to pursue. "Shut up." Tony saw Pepper's slightly excited look and shouted directly. When Pepper heard this, she trembled all over and was also startled. Because this was the first time Tony looked a little angry and told himself to shut up. Pepper, you should have a lot of things you want to ask me. I will tell you everything, but from now on, I will let you do whatever you want with your self-talk. But when you meet more people outside in the future, you have to restrain yourself. Tony walked towards Pepper with his hands behind his back, his face serious and solemn. Pepper's self-centered attitude was fine in front of him, but if it was still like this in front of Harvey Ambalaka, it might leave some bad impressions. Is this an order? Pepper saw Tony hearing these words and wanted to reply as usual, but seeing Tony exuding confidence and majesty, she could only ask in a low voice. This is not an order, this is a reminder. Because what I'm going to tell you next will open up a new world for you. If you continue to be by my side in the future, you will definitely attend some special occasions with me and meet some more special people or things. Those people and things will be special than anything you've ever seen or heard before. Sometimes, because of some of your self-care behaviors outside, you may cause us disasters that even I can't resist. So that's something you have to remember. Tony said as he walked towards Pepper step by step. Is this a proposal? When Pepper heard that the future was with her, she had an incredible expression on her face. She knew clearly that her relationship with Tony was more than friends but not lovers. It's just that Tony is a super rich playboy. Although he is approaching 40 years old, Tony doesn't need to worry. So she had been waiting for when Tony would really calm down, but she didn't expect Tony to say this suddenly. You can think so. Tony didn't deny it when he heard it. Pepper originally thought that Tony would find an excuse to shirk or deny it like he did in the past, but he didn't expect that this time, Tony would be so direct. Okay, keep talking and I'll listen. This made Pepper feel a little excited and said with great joy. You asked me before why I suddenly became younger, but I didn't answer you at that time. It's because I didn't think clearly about whether to accept it or not at the time. But now I can tell you the secret of why I became like this, including the world that ordinary people cannot access. Tony sat on a chair and spoke. Pepper felt a little strange when she heard Tony's words, but she just nodded to show that she was listening. I became young because of someone who exposed me to a new world. Give me a long life and growing strength. I also understood the nature of life, the other side of the world, the vastness of the universe, and the authenticity of gods. And the man who led me into that new world was none other than Harvey Ambalaka. Seeing how obedient Pepper was, Tony continued. Tony, are you being scammed? When Pepper heard these words that were not usually mentioned, he was silent for a moment and then spoke. Tony wasn't surprised when he saw Pepper's reaction. He knew that facts speak louder than words, so he didn't argue verbally. Instead, he directly raised his foot and touched the ground. With a bang, the floor was crushed to pieces by Tony's foot. How did you do it? Pepper's beautiful eyes widened when she saw the power of Tony's kick. Tony couldn't be said to be weak before, because he often had to make inventions, so his strength was still stronger than ordinary people. But Pepper knew that Tony's body was just like that, stronger than ordinary people but not much stronger. But now Tony smashes the floor directly with his foot. This is obviously not the power that Tony can possess. This is the power from the void. Don't worry, I will tell you step by step. Tony pretended that nothing happened and crossed his legs, shaking slightly to dissipate the pain in his feet, while saying. According to his estimation, it would not be difficult to make cracks in the floor by himself, but he did not expect that he would use too much force and directly break the floor, causing his feet to hurt. But Tony soon felt the pain coming from the soles of his feet disappearing quickly. This discovery surprised Tony himself, but it was obviously not the time to be surprised yet. What matters is how he convinces Pepper to believe in the void and join the void. Sir's physical fitness is at least several times stronger than before, far exceeding that of ordinary humans. At this time, Jarvis also followed Tony's prior instructions and explained. Quote. Pepper heard what Jarvis said and looked at Tony, who was looking young and handsome again. She didn't understand what void was, but she understood what she should do now. So Pepper honestly found a chair and sat down. Before you peek into the void, I believe you will have some doubts about the void. Because I was the same before. Before I faced the void directly, I couldn't understand what the void meant. But now I understand that the void is for evolution, adaptation and survival. You may not be able to understand this now. Tony Stark looked at Pepper's honest appearance and began to explain the situation. But just after he finished speaking, Tony saw Pepper's confused look, and thought for a moment and changed it to a simpler way of saying it. To put it simply, it allows you to gain some kind of superpower. The most important thing is to gain a lifespan of at least hundreds of thousands of years or even longer. As you can see, I have joined the void, so I have gained strength and become younger. Pepper, you are a woman. I know you may not have that much desire for power. But let me ask you, do you want to stay young forever? Tony said, throwing the question to Pepper. I want to stay young forever, and no woman doesn't. But I still want to ask, what is the price? If you want to gain superpowers or a longer lifespan, there must be a price. After hearing these easy-to-understand words, Pepper thought for a moment, calmed down, and asked. The price is that your appetite will become huge and you need to eat a lot of food every day. Tony heard Pepper's words and replied seriously. Same as Mr. Harvey Ambalaka. When Pepper heard that the appetite would be great, he immediately thought of Harvey Ambalaka. Yes, but this can be said to be a price, or it can be said that joining is something required for evolution. If you want to evolve, you have to eat. The more you eat, the more you evolve, the more power you gain, and the longer your lifespan. The real price is the psychological test, which requires resisting the temptation of desire. Because you have extraordinary power, your mentality will change. Just like me now, in the past I would not dare to explain my true thoughts to you because of some trivial thoughts in my mind, such as fear of making a fool of myself. But it's different now. I have a lifespan of at least 1,000 years or even longer. And I asked Harvey Ambalaka to get you the opportunity to join the void together. I want you to join me in the void now and spend a long time together in the future. I hope you won't let my efforts go to waste, Pepper. When Tony heard this, he looked directly at Pepper, his words showing great seriousness. He knew there was only one chance, if Pepper didn't want to. It is hard to say whether Harvey Ambalaka will give him another chance in the future. And if Pepper doesn't accept it no matter what, then he and Pepper are destined to become people in two different worlds. So he took this opportunity to express what he had been thinking all along. I really don't have that much yearning for power, but women do have an instinctive pursuit of eternal youth. I also appreciate your willingness to secure this opportunity for me. But I have a question for you. Pepper felt Tony's hot eyes and looked hard at each other for a few seconds. Finally, she looked away shyly and asked in a low voice. You ask. Tony's heart sank slightly when he heard Pepper's words, but he still suppressed the throbbing in his heart and asked. If I eat as much as Mr. Harvey Ambalaka does every day, will I get fat? Pepper heard this and expressed his problem. That's it. Tony originally thought that Pepper had other concerns, so he kept thinking about how to solve it. Unexpectedly, Pepper was worried about whether he would gain weight. That's it, an appetite as big as Mr. Harvey Ambalaka's. It's easy to think about gaining weight, okay. Pepper felt Tony's speechless eyes and defended seriously. I can't give you an accurate answer to this question, but judging from Harvey Ambalaka's situation, these problems can be solved. At least he maintains his figure, which makes me envious. There are still many things I haven't told you, but please tell me the answer now. Are you willing to join the void with me? Have a longer life and explore the other side of the world with me? Tony Stark saw that Pepper did not look weird, but looked serious in defense. A smile appeared on his face and he extended a sincere invitation. I am willing, but what should I do? Pepper asked in a low voice when she saw Tony, who was looking more confident and handsome. I'll go and ask. Tony was extremely happy when he heard this and wanted to take Pepper to see Harvey Ambalaka. But before Tony could finish his words, he saw Pepper's eyes closed tightly and her body lying flat in the air because even some lace could be seen in the skirt. But none of this was important. What was important was that Tony discovered that Pepper's body began to be covered in purple energy. The void is so mysterious and great, Tony said with emotion when he saw this scene. The person he cares about most is allowed to join the void and explore the other side of the world with him. This tolerance and gift can only be described as great. Only a few minutes passed before Pepper's body slowly lay on the ground. OMG. When Pepper opened her eyes, her body trembled, she woke up suddenly, and shouted loudly. Pepper, what did you see? Tony asked quickly when he saw Pepper waking up. I saw one unimaginable behemoth after another. I feel so small in front of them. So small that it's even worse than an ant. Pepper looked pale and said with awe in her words. Those are all manifestations of the will of the void. It also means that when we join the void, we can reach the ultimate form in the future. So you don't have to be afraid. Tony saw Pepper, who was scared, into a cold sweat and quickly comforted him. Does that mean I'll turn into that giant creature? Pepper's face turned even paler when he heard this. Did you just see those behemoths? When Tony heard these words, his eyes flashed and he asked carefully. Well, I only saw one terrifying monster after another that was bigger than the planet. Although Pepper felt a little strange when he heard this, he still nodded. Don't worry, believe me, that may be the most primitive appearance of the ultimate evolution. You can transform into human form by using power. When Tony heard Pepper's words, his eyes flickered and his brain worked rapidly, and he spoke to comfort him. Is there anything to eat? Pepper was initially frightened, but soon the feeling of hunger in her stomach made her look at Tony and ask. I've had people prepare it a long time ago. It should arrive later. And I have many more things to explain to you next. You don't have to worry, let alone be afraid. I am here. Tony saw that Pepper was also starting to feel hungry, and there was no surprise. Good. Pepper nodded slightly at these reassuring words. The other side. Harvey Ambalaka drove back to his home. The system just informed me that someone wants to understand and join the void. Harvey knew without even thinking that Tony had convinced Pepper, so he agreed directly. The addition of Pepper only added 5,000 void energy to him, which was a full 20 times difference compared to when Tony Stark joined. But adding Pepper will allow Tony Stark to completely accept the void. So Harvey didn't care how much void energy Pepper brought to him. And now Harvey also has more important things to do. Harvey first changed into a pair of loose and comfortable home clothes, and then went to the underground training ground. Harvey opened the hero template, which showed the logo with the option number 1. Previously, he didn't know that the more he spread the will of the void, the more hero templates he could choose. What he originally thought was that as long as he had a second chance, he would definitely choose the Big Bug Void Fear Korgas. Because of the double-layered Terror evolution ability of Void Predator plus Void Terror. As long as he is allowed to evolve a few more times, his survivability can be raised to a very high level. Even if he hasn't really grown up by then, as long as he doesn't provoke some gods in the universe, there will be no enemies that can threaten his life. But now he knows that the more people believe in the void, the more opportunities he will have to choose hero templates. So at the moment, his best choice is only one, and that is the power of Voidwalker Kassadin. As long as he has Voidwalker Kassadin's Void Walking, he can go directly to the universe to establish the Void Cult. There are some big shots in Blue Star, and he is not allowed to mess around. Apart from the 9 realms, there is nothing to be afraid of on other planets in the universe. Even Thanos didn't worry him at all. Rather than saying that he was worried that Thanos would threaten him, it was better to say that he was afraid of the person who had collected all 6 Infinity Stones. At this stage, Thanos has not yet collected 6 Infinity Stones, so he doesn't have anything to worry about. Even if we don't talk about some people with stronger fates in the universe, there are many races that are born with stronger power. If they add up, they can replace the importance of fate. As long as he evolves quickly enough, there's nothing to be afraid of. So Harvey looked at the hero template of Voidwalker Kassadin and chose to go ahead without much hesitation. Are you sure you want to obtain Voidwalker Kassadin's hero template? Once selected, it cannot be changed. The system's voice also sounded in Harvey's mind at this time. Perhaps because hero template selections are rare and precious, the system also asked this question the first time. Confirm. But Harvey had already thought it through, so he finally confirmed it. At the moment of confirmation, a vicissitudes of life an arrogant voice sounded in Harvey's mind. Few are able to travel between worlds, Kassadin. As these words rang out, a bunch of knowledge that he had never known began to pour into Harvey's mind. What made Harvey feel like he was enlightened was the mysterious and esoteric magical knowledge and the use of void energy. And at the same time, a deep purple stone emerged in the void and directly integrated into Harvey's body. Harvey closed his eyes and stood, and time passed slowly until nightfall. It was Harvey who truly digested this vast amount of knowledge. When he opened his eyes again, Harvey's black eyes became deeper and deeper, with a hint of golden light in the depths. And the world Harvey saw also contained a lot of purple energy that could not be detected in the past. Harvey found that the world in front of him seemed to have changed drastically, and he carefully thought about the many knowledge about magic in his mind. Harvey stretched his right hand forward and pulled out a purple void blade. The space pulled out by the void blade was distorted and looked extremely terrifying. At the same time, Harvey had a thought, and his body rose into the air, and purple-black magic balls began to condense in the void, moving around the body. Under the reflection of purple light, Harvey's temperament became a little evil and weird. He doesn't even need to evolve the ability to fly. He can fly directly just by using the magical energy floating in the void. Harvey closed his eyes. Although he was in the basement, his field of vision was getting farther and farther, directly through the material, as if he were looking down. Harvey's body flew into the air and landed with 1 foot. A void appeared under his feet, and his body turned into a purple light and disappeared. The next second, Harvey's body appeared in the lobby on the first floor. One pursues the ultimate in the body, and the other pursues the ultimate in magic. Before the body really grows up, magic is the real master. Harvey couldn't help feeling a little emotional when he saw that he had gone straight through the wall and reached the first floor instantly as he thought. Then, Harvey opened the Voidwalker Kassadin Hero interface. 5 skills are marked above. Void Stone. The power effect of magic on you will be slightly weakened, ignoring the damage caused by low-level magic, and allowing you to directly become void and penetrate matter. This skill is a special skill that grows independently with the duration of the absorbed void and cannot be actively improved. Number of evolutions of Void Ball 0. Absorb the power of the void to condense the void ball. Hitting a creature can seal the magic energy in the target creature for 1 second, and can condense a layer of void robes for you to resist the invasion of magic. Number of evolutions of Void Blade. 0. Passively, all attacks by you can absorb the power of the void, attaching a layer of magic to your body, causing greater damage. When used actively, actively charge the Void Blade to greatly increase the power of your next magic attack. Number of Energy Pulse evolutions 0. Passive absorption. When you release magic and absorb the power of the void, you can absorb the magic and energy remaining in the void within 100 meters every time. When magic and energy gather to a certain amount, energy pulses can be released. The power and range depend on the energy you absorb. Number of evolutions of Void Descending 0. Whenever you escape into and travel through Void Descending, you can trigger a void explosion according to your will, causing damage to everything around you. Each skill of the Void Walker is a magical skill for the mage. Many mages are super magic turrets, but their own defense and close range abilities are not very strong. Basically, once they are approached by an enemy, they will be very dangerous. Coupled with the ability of Kha'Zix, the Void Reaver, Harvey now doesn't have to worry so much against enemies who have mastered powerful magic. As for these 5 skills, except for the Void Stone, which needs to absorb the power of the void to improve itself according to time, the other 4 skills can all be improved. Harvey had a big meal at Tony's house and currently has 875,000 evolution points. He originally thought that he could not evolve, but he noticed that these 4 skills could be chosen to evolve. It is obvious that the skill evolution of Voidwalker Kassadin overlaps with the evolution of Void Reaver Kha'Zix, allowing him to start with 10,000 evolution points at will. The reason why Harvey's void attack can reach an astonishing level 50. It's because Harvey added a bunch of levels to void attack before evolving 100 times. Who can evolve the hero's ultimate skill but the hero's small skill, so Harvey added it to Void Advent without hesitation. Harvey directly consumed 490,000 evolution points to increase Void Advent to level 50. A large amount of knowledge poured into his mind, making Harvey feel that there was invisible energy hidden in the surrounding heaven, earth and void. Harvey would like to directly bring Invasion of the Void to level 100, but the problem is if he wants to further improve it. It will take other small skills to keep up with some levels one after another. So I could only evolve the other 3 skills 10 times one after another, so the skills changed. The number of evolutions of the Void Ball is 10 times. Absorb the power of the void to condense the void ball, and the void force will invade the target's body when it hits the creature, temporarily interfering with the flow of magic in the target creature's body for 3 seconds, and can condense a spell for you. A layer of void robes to resist the invasion of magic. Number of evolutions of Void Blade. 10 times. All your attacks can absorb the power of the void, attaching a layer of magic to your body, causing greater damage. When used actively, charge the Void Blade to greatly increase the power of your next magic attack. Energy Pulse Evolution times 10 times. Passive Absorption. When you release magic and absorb the power of the void, you can absorb the magic and energy remaining in the void within 1,100 meters each time. When magic and energy gather to a certain amount, energy pulses can be released. The power and range depend on the energy you absorb. The number of evolutions of Void Descending is 50. You can observe the void, see through the foundation of space, and know the location of space. When you escape into and travel through the void, you can trigger a void explosion according to your will, causing terrible damage to everything around you. The above skills will be further strengthened when you return to your hero prototype. Your magic is ineffective on me, Cassidon. Harvey also had a smile on his face when he saw Cassidon's complacent words. When such words appear, it means that he has mastered most of the power of the hero template. Harvey closed his eyes to feel the world. In an instant, he saw the stars in the universe and countless light spots with different colors. Among them, the light spot is the largest where you are, followed by the smaller light spots that are farther away nearby. With this ability, he can directly go to the universe. But before going into the universe, Harvey still has to do some experiments. Otherwise, if the user is not familiar enough with it, and a person accidentally puts himself into the sun, he will become the most stupid time traveler in history. Therefore, Harvey did not stick to the countless light points in the universe for the time being, but focused on the blue star. As Harvey concentrated, his vision quickly looked down from the universe. Harvey saw countless humans in New York, each one as small as an ant. I could only see some taller buildings, mountains, rivers and landforms, and I couldn't hear the words of those people carefully. After discovering this, Harvey felt relieved. Because if he can directly see the general situation in each light spot, it can at least guarantee that he will not directly fall into an extremely dangerous area and die. Then, Harvey locked onto his manner and activated the void energy in the space. The void split open and Harvey's body turned into a purple light and disappeared. The next second Harvey appeared in the sky above the large manor outside his house. Harvey carefully controlled his power throughout the whole process, and finally slowly fell to the ground, so as not to accidentally destroy his manor with a kick. After landing on the ground, a smile appeared on Harvey's face. Once he adapts to controlling his current power, he can go into the universe and spread the will of the void to various planets. So Harvey began to practice short-term space travel. Traveling long distances is not the focus of the exercise after knowing the general appearance of some worlds that can be overlooked. Because it can only be used as a means of teleportation for the time being, if you want to make void descent suitable for combat. He must be able to carry out short-distance void descent at any time. So Harvey went directly to the deserted ocean and stepped directly into the deep sea. He has to practice until the moment he thinks of it in his mind, he can instantly teleport to the location within his field of vision that he wants to go to. This will not only make him more powerful in combat, but he can also better guide other creatures in the universe to believe in the void. As for the more advanced means of directly establishing teleportation points and bringing other creatures for large-scale teleportation, he is not thinking about it yet. For the next period of time, Harvey devoted himself to practicing void magic every day except eating. If you have great power and cannot control it perfectly, you cannot call it completely your own. So when Harvey first started practicing, his casting speed was extremely slow and he was not in a hurry. I practiced steadily and carefully for more than 2 months. And the large number of evolution points accumulated over the past 2 months were all invested by Harvey into the void skin of the void predator Kazakh. It allowed Void Skin to evolve 81 times, and also allowed Harvey's Void Predator Kazakhs to evolve 300 times. After evolving 300 times, the evolution points required to evolve have also increased by half, and it takes 1.5 million evolution points to evolve once. The improvement of this evolutionary point made Harvey a little frightened when he saw it. But who said he didn't have the opportunity to choose more hero templates? So he had to invest all his evolution points into Void Skin, evolving at least 100 times. Now his void skin has evolved 81 times because of the continuous evolution of void skin. Harvey's physical strength has also been significantly improved, allowing him to fly directly at the speed of Mach 6. If he was fighting in a small area, it would be faster to move directly with his body than to use void magic to travel through space. Because Harvey didn't have anything suitable to experiment with, he didn't know the extent of his physical strength. However, his defense is definitely strong, because his speed has been significantly improved due to his more powerful body. This allows him to withstand the terrifying cutting caused by the violent wind caused by extremely fast flight. If he directly uses the void to attack, his speed will reach Mach 8. Compared to his speed about 9 months ago, his speed has doubled, and his strength and ability to master are also more comprehensive. With his current strength and abilities, he is ready to set foot on the universe and spread the will of the void. But before that, Harvey finished breakfast, looked down at New York with his mind, and disappeared in the next second. After 3 months, Tony Stark also evolved 37 times. Each evolution contributed 2,000 more void energy to him, and contributed 74,000 more void energy to him. Pepper didn't know if it was because her desire to gain power was not that strong, but she only evolved 17 times in 3 months. Each evolution contributes 100 void energy to him, which only provides 1,700 void energy. Obviously, compared with Tony Stark, who has a powerful destiny, Pepper's contribution of void energy is relatively small. But at least it's better than nothing. Harvey's goal is actually more to attract these people with weaker fates. The void energy provided is relatively small, but as long as the amount increases, it will become an astonishing amount. Harvey now only has a pitiful void energy of about 175,000. It is still very far away from the goal of reaching the 100 million void energy exchange center tyrant alien void predator. But as long as he sets foot in the universe, this goal will not be too far away. There are countless kinds of technologies in the universe. If one can possess the power of the tyrant alien to control technology, his information capabilities can reach very far. On the other side, Tony Stark and Pepper were eating breakfast. Pepper planned to go to work at Stark Industries after eating, while Tony Stark continued his research after eating. But they suddenly saw that the void in front of them suddenly opened like a purple black hole. Tony Stark's eyes narrowed slightly. He had seen this kind of purple black hole before. Pepper was shocked when she saw this scene. Because she learned some information about the extraordinary world from Tony, such as various gods, big shots in Blue Star, and other things beyond ordinary people's knowledge. Does the sudden appearance of this purple black hole indicate that they have been discovered? But under the eyes of the two people, a tall, handsome young man with black hair and black eyes came out. Mr. Harvey Ambalaka. Pepper felt relieved after being startled, and said hello politely. Tony Stark has seen the more powerful Harvey Umbaraka, and he roughly guessed that this purple black hole was cast by Harvey Umbaraka. Harvey, this must be the first time you take the initiative to come to my house. Come here suddenly, you must have something to tell me, right? So Tony Stark was not too shocked when he saw the appearance of Harvey Ambalaka and said, "Well, I decided to leave Blue Star and go for a walk in the universe." After Harvey walked out, the black hole in the void behind him disappeared in an instant. Hearing Tony's words, he nodded slightly. "I really wish I could walk into the universe with you. But I'm still too weak now." When Tony Stark saw Harvey's arrival, he temporarily stopped eating, clenched his fists, and said, in the past 3 months, he could feel that he had evolved many times, and his appearance had returned to what he looked like when he was 24 years old. He looked extremely handsome and energetic, and his power had surpassed human cognition. Tony Stark has not forgotten the purpose of joining the Void, so apart from daily eating and evolution, his research has not fallen behind. In 3 months, he has developed new elements and created an arc reactor that only he knows how to make. The steel armor is also constantly improving. In terms of strength, the latest generation of new armor is much stronger than him. At least he can't fly directly yet, let alone fly at Mach 3 speed, fire energy cannons and the like. And the reason why he worked hard to improve the steel armor is because the steel armor can temporarily hide his eyes from others. He has not shown his true face outside now. Even if he wants to go out, he always wears steel armor to meet people. Although many people say that he is too flamboyant, his voice and actions are in line with his external persona. And he didn't rely on his steel armor to act recklessly, so he didn't cause any big trouble. Compared to him who needs to be more careful in his actions, Pepper has it much smoother. Pepper also told him that it felt like his body had evolved more than 10 times, and the speed of evolution was relatively slow. But Tony Stark doesn't know if his psychological pursuits are different and the direction of evolution is different. Pepper has evolved more than 10 times, and his body has been strengthened a lot, making him much stronger than ordinary people. However, the enhancement is still not that obvious. The most obvious change is in Pepper's appearance. Pepper now looks like she did when she was 20 years old. Her skin is fairer, smoother and more beautiful. Her temperament is also confident and she looks even more charming. And maybe because Pepper has broadened his horizons and knows that his appearance is ageless, his behavior has also undergone some changes, and he no longer talks to himself like before. Although there are some rumors from the outside world, most people think that Pepper has done microplastic surgery in private and is taking good care of herself. Compared to being directly regarded as an alien, these rumors obviously did not affect Pepper's mood. These 3 months should make you understand that now is just the starting point of your new life, so you don't need to be anxious at all. It's just a matter of time to set foot on the universe with me and see different worlds together. When Harvey heard Tony Stark's words and saw that Tony Stark's eyes were still clear, he felt relieved and said with a smile. Obviously Tony Stark has kept his words in mind for more than 2 months and has never thought of directly devouring and absorbing creatures. Although the speed of evolution is a bit slow, the key is to move steadily and not to get lost in the abyss of desire so easily. Seeing that my appearance is getting younger day by day, I feel that the power in my body is getting stronger and stronger. I know this is a new starting point. While it makes me happy, it also makes me think of all the great people in the world and the universe, and I feel sorry for my own weakness. Tony Stark also smiled when he heard this. As long as you can adapt to it. Harvey nodded slightly when he heard this. Harvey, I wonder if you can go to space. By the way, can you bring me some special products from the universe? Alien technology or some special raw materials. As for the reward, you can withdraw it when the time comes, or I can exchange it with you for some shares of Stark Industries. As long as the technology is higher, the value of Stark Industries will be higher, and you can get as much money as you want. Tony thought about it and made a suggestion. If he can obtain alien technology or materials, it is likely that he will get some inspiration and make a qualitative improvement in technology. In this way, he can better prepare for the crisis that Blue Star will definitely face 8 years later. Now he firmly believes in what Harvey said, and Harvey has no reason to lie to him. I can go to the universe and back at any time, so it shouldn't be a problem to bring you something. After hearing this, Harvey thought for a moment and said, that would be better, then let me wait for your good news. While you are not at home, I will ask someone to help you take care of the various manors under your name. I'll make sure it's clean and intact when you come back. Tony Stark was not surprised when he heard that he could come and go at any time, and a smile appeared on his face. Good. Although Harvey didn't need it, Harvey didn't shirk it and accepted the kindness. Miss Pepper, I haven't seen you for more than 2 months, and you are becoming more and more beautiful. No wonder Tony Stark would intercede specifically for you. Immediately, Harvey looked at Pepper and said hello. Thank you for the compliment. This is all thanks to Mr. Harvey. You are willing to give me this opportunity. When Pepper heard these words, a blush appeared on her beautiful face and she said politely. From Tony's mouth, she learned how powerful Mr. Harvey Ambalaka was. Tony had reminded her not to talk to herself too often regardless of the situation, just because she had to be careful about how she behaved in front of Harvey Ambalaka. Including that more people or creatures may join the Void in the future. Although they were the first to join the Void, there is no guarantee that there may be existences in the universe that will become very powerful once they join the Void. Therefore, you must be careful and cautious when speaking in front of outsiders, otherwise it will lead to unimaginable disasters. Knowing that he has entered an extraordinary world that is not restricted by the law has changed Pepper's character a lot. It seems you are quite adaptable to me, so don't worry. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk in the universe. You guys can eat slowly. If something special happens to Blue Star, Tony, please send me a message. I'll take a look when I get back. Harvey felt a little weird when he saw Pepper's appearance, but he didn't pay too much attention and said something to Tony. Then, a black hole in the void appeared under Harvey's feet and disappeared. You can go directly back and forth between Blue Star and the universe. Mr. Harvey Ambalaka's ability is really unimaginable. After Harvey Ambalaka left, Pepper said with some emotion. Yeah, but his abilities don't stop there. We are just at the beginning of our evolution. As long as you don't treat Gao Muyuan well, you will eventually become stronger if you take your time. When we become truly powerful, we will go to the universe together to see the customs of each planet. Let's go for a walk among the stars in the sky and see all the things that we wanted to see before but couldn't due to technology and abilities. Tony Stark's eyes flickered when he heard this and he spoke. He has seen those terrifying monsters, and one of them can travel directly between the stars. So he was not surprised that Harvey Ambalaka showed this ability. It's just that the more you witness it, the more you realize how weak you are now. Good. When Pepper heard Tony Stark's words, her beautiful eyes showed some longing. Harvey went directly to the moon, overlooking the distant blue planet. The cold breath of the universe was as comfortable as a breeze to Harvey. Harvey has long had the ability to physically travel to the universe, but because he has no means to travel to other alien planets, Harvey has never taken the initiative to set foot in space. Now possessing the Void Walker's ability to descend from the void, Harvey finally has the ability to travel to other planets to take a look. Harvey also has clear plans for this trip to extraterrestrial life. First make money as a bounty hunter in the universe, and then establish the Void Cult to become famous. Naturally, other creatures will come on their own initiative, and there is no need for him to search too much. And if you think about it, he doesn't even have to go to Wakanda to grab vibranium. Vibranium is a scarce resource that cannot be copied in Blue Star. However, in the universe, vibranium is difficult to obtain at best, but it does not mean that it cannot be purchased or found directly. Harvey concentrated, his vision broke away from his eyes, and he began to overlook the entire galaxy. He wanted to find a more developed planet, and he had to get a cosmic translator first, otherwise he wouldn't be able to move because of the language barrier. And it was also at this moment that Ji Yuyi of Blue Star Taj felt something and immediately ran out of the house, looking above in shock. She felt a terrifying sight in the dark, overlooking the blue star. Ji Yuyi touched his eyes with his hands, and his eyes glowed golden, wanting to see what kind of existence was spying on him. But Ji Yuyi's sight could not see beyond the blue star, and he could not see what the other party was. At the same time, Asgard, the divine domain among the 9 realms. Heimdall in front of the Rainbow Bridge, with a pair of golden eyes that could see through infinite distances, was overlooking the 9 realms. But he suddenly felt a terrible gaze looking down on him. Heimdall felt this feeling for the first time. So Heimdall wants to follow the source, but when his golden eyes shine, he wants to understand everything. Everything in his sight became a void of darkness, and in this boundless darkness, there was a terrifying dark purple-black star. Heimdall had lived for so many years, and this was the first time he saw such terrifying stars. He didn't know the origin of this dark star, but he knew that God King Odin must have felt that he was being spied on by unknown beings. Just as Heimdall thought, an old man with white hair was drinking wine in the temple. But suddenly an inexplicable sight was overlooking Asgard. Who is so bold as to peek into Asgard? Odin threw out the wine glass in his hand, stood up, shrouded in golden light, put on his armor, and let out a loud roar. But there was no response, and the sense of voyeurism had disappeared. Some Asgardian soldiers were frightened when they saw the king suddenly shouting, and quickly came to the outside of the palace in prepared formation. However, they only saw the solemn look on the face of God King Odin, but did not notice any enemies or strange aura coming. None of them had any idea what was going on, and they wanted to ask but didn't dare. A kilometer-large purple void black hole appeared on the moon. Harvey's figure turned into purple light and disappeared. At the same time, Xandar was a light year away. At the same time, a kilometer-large purple void black hole appeared. When Harvey's figure stepped out of it, the terrifying void energy exploded, and a purple-black shock wave exploded in the universe, causing space to distort all around. Seeing this scene, Harvey was a little lucky that he did not come directly to Xandar. Because this is his first time to perform a light year level void descent, even he cannot guarantee the explosion of power when he descends. So Harvey chose the safest approach, which was to get near the planet first, and then go to the destination he really wanted to reach. Just now, when Harvey was looking over the galaxy to find his target, he saw Asgard and noticed what Odin seemed to have discovered. But he slipped away so fast that Odin probably didn't notice him. Immediately, a black hole in the void appeared again under Harvey's feet. The next second, Harvey arrived directly among the beautiful mountains, rivers and woods. Perhaps because it is a habitable planet, the environment of Xandar Star is not very different from that of Blue Star. Harvey vaguely remembered that Xandar was one of the interstellar empires in the Marvel Universe, so it shouldn't be difficult to get some money and a cosmic translator here first. Harvey directly absorbed the energy of the void, and soon his clothes changed. Harvey wore a purple and gold embellished battle armor, a golden mask on his head, and a white battle robe on his body. His eyes turned into golden pupils at this moment. The whole atmosphere has changed tremendously, becoming mysterious and solemn. Harvey knew that if he wanted to spread the will of the void, he would definitely have to use a new alias. That way, even if some commotion is caused, the people he needs to be careful about will not be able to lock onto his body so easily. And wearing this costume, Harvey's pseudonym is naturally the pseudonym Cassidon. Harvey rose into the sky and flew slowly towards the city more than 200 kilometers away. In just half an hour, Harvey saw a tall city wall with a strong sense of technology in the distance. The light of the metal looks even more magnificent under the sunlight. It should not be said that Xandar is one of the well-known empires in the universe, and the facade is really something that they have to figure out. Above the city wall, there are spaceships flying slowly in the air, obviously the guards of Xandar are patrolling. Because he was about to arrive, Harvey also landed on the ground and walked towards the city gate step by step. As long as Xandar didn't make things difficult for him, Harvey had no intention of making a fuss here for the time being. His main purpose of coming here is to find a cosmic translator and find out where he can take on the bounty hunter's mission. Harvey saw many humanoid creatures, and their appearance was not very different from Blue Star. If Harvey hadn't known that he had arrived on Xandar, he might have mistakenly thought that he was still on Blue Star. Harvey's arrival attracted the attention of many people on Xandar. After all, the mysterious and solemn aura of this man whose face was unclear, as if he had been in a high position for a long time, was hard to ignore. The guards at the city gate looked at each other for a moment, and then each one wanted to ask the other to interrogate and register their identity. Finally, a male guard who was about 1.9 meters tall in military uniform and looked extremely strong looked at his companions and said with some disdain, "Look at how cowardly you are, aren't you just registering? There's nothing to be nervous about." After saying this, the male guard took the initiative to speak when Harvey walked to the corridor under the city wall. Name, origin, purpose of coming here. The guard communicated directly with Harvey in common alien language, while preparing to register the boxy and thin instrument in his hand. But the guard found that after he finished speaking, the mysterious visitor stopped, but did not answer him immediately. This made the guard feel nervous and looked at Harvey cautiously. Harvey originally thought that since he didn't have a cosmic translator, he wouldn't be able to understand what these people were saying, but as soon as the other party spoke, he understood them immediately. This stunned Harvey. Cassidon comes from the void. The purpose of coming here is to get some information. But it was much easier to communicate directly. Harvey responded and answered the other party's questions. The guard heard the language of the mysterious visitor and looked at the language of the cosmic translator on his wrist. It showed that the language was from C53. There are countless planets in the universe, so for a while, he couldn't recognize whether C53 was called void. However, the other party seemed to be very cooperative, which made the guard feel relieved. "My name is Dam. Although I have never heard of the planet you mentioned, I have registered it for you. This is Xandar. Since this is your first time to come and register, you can only stay here for 7 days. Everything in the city is under the sight of our guards. Pay attention to your behavior in the city during these 7 days. Otherwise our guards find out and will arrest you at any time and send you to the trial court. The trial court will punish you according to the seriousness of your crime. In serious cases, you may even be executed directly. So be careful with me when you act. The guard who called himself Dam released a beam of light that scanned Harvey, made a record, and gave a reminder. Okay. Faced with these reminders, Harvey nodded cooperatively. Harvey is not afraid of the other party scanning and recording information, because all the information he has now is false information made of void robes, and he is not afraid of being scanned at all. Okay, you can go in. After Dam registered, seeing the honest look of the man named Cassidy, he let him go. Can I ask, where on Xandar can bounty hunters receive some tasks? Harvey did not leave immediately after hearing this, but asked directly. He was unfamiliar with the planet Xandar, so the quickest way to get information was to get it from the guards. Are you a bounty hunter? I don't think you are a bounty hunter, but more like a big shot. When Dam heard this, he looked at him in confusion. This man who looked solemn and extraordinary in his clothes spoke. There was a period of glory in the past, but today is different. I want to make some money by doing some bounty tasks. When Harvey heard the other party's impression of him, he seemed to be touched by the pain, and said with a somewhat ashamed tone. Sorry, I didn't mean to poke your pain. If you want to become a bounty hunter and take on some missions, after entering the city, walk 20 kilometers east to the Link neighborhood. The Bounty Bar, where bounty hunters often hang out, is right there. It's easy to spot. I hope you can survive this difficult time without losing your life and earn some money. When Dam heard these words, his eyes showed some sympathy, and he first apologized and explained the route. Dam, thank you for your blessings, when my glory returns. If you hear about my reputation and need my help, you can come to me. Maybe I can help you once. When Harvey heard the detailed location, he glanced at the man, with some joy in his words. In the universe, because the glory of the home is ruined, there is no end in sight, and then because of the past squandering money, you can't get used to living a poor life. There are many people who finally choose to join bounty hunting and seek to make a fortune again. The man named Cassidy was not the first, nor would he be the last. So when Dam heard these words, he didn't take them seriously, but he still expressed sincere encouragement on the surface. Hopefully one day, and hopefully you'll be able to survive the bounty mission. Harvey found out the destination, and without stopping, nodded slightly and walked towards the city. After Harvey left, other guards gathered around Dam. Damn, that guy doesn't look like an ordinary person. He has the aura of a superior person. I have met so many people as a guard for so long. I've only seen 2 of them. You should all know who the 2 I mentioned are. They are big figures we need to be in awe of. Maybe you will actually ask him for help in the future. Why didn't I just go over and ask? Otherwise, this opportunity might be in my hands. These guards began to discuss each other one by one. The big shot they were talking about was Dana Thrall, the senior police officer of the Nova Corps. There is also Arani Reel, the supreme commander of the Nova Corps. These 2 are big figures they need to fear and look up to. The glory of the past has been destroyed, and it may be overturned overnight, but we want to build glory. It's not just about getting some money through bounty missions. For someone like him, in the past it might have been the party issuing the bounty, not the party accepting it. When people like them encounter drastic changes, their mood will be greatly affected, and I accidentally touched his sore spot. So I just said a few words of encouragement to make up for it. Dam didn't pay attention at all when he heard this. He watched Harvey's figure disappear from sight and said slowly, "If he hadn't declined, what I just said to you might be a turning point in your life." What a pity. The other guards heard Dam's words and persuaded him. I do think that if he hadn't declined in the past, he probably wouldn't be here now. Dam said angrily after hearing this. Ha ha ha, that's the same thing. Whether it's useful or not, just remember his name, just in case it happens one day in the future. His name seems to be Cassidy. Yes, it's Cassidy. A bit of a weird name. What's wrong with being weird? It's precisely because of being weird that you're not an ordinary person. A group of guards exchanged words with each other. Most of them are citizens, and their usual job is to register and report. As long as there is no invasion by foreign enemies, they will not encounter any danger. Just the normal check-in, chatting and bragging, and clocking in and out. In terms of status, their lowest status as gatekeepers is not much higher than that of citizens. At most, they have better welfare and no law enforcement power. There is no comparison with the group of people selected into the Nova Corps who can own Nova suits and fly various fighter planes and warships. They also hope to join the Nova Corps, pilot fighter planes and space battleships to conquer the universe, and achieve great military exploits to reach the pinnacle of life. But if you want to join the Nova Legion, you need not only talent but also connections. If you don't have connections, you will need good luck or the ability to flatter someone if you want to join the Nova Legion. With good connections, the road will be smoother, and this is something that cannot be escaped no matter where in the world you are. On the other side, after Harvey learned the information, he walked through the corridor and walked into the city. Harvey was not in a hurry, but looked at the surrounding scenery and customs. The city on Xandar Star is very advanced and prosperous. Compared with Blue Star, it is an ultra-modern city. There are all kinds of new technologies that Harvey has never seen on Blue Star, including discs that can fly while standing, and data survey instruments that can achieve ultra-long viewing range. From time to time, fighter planes similar to the Pentagon flew by at high altitude, but they did not make much noise. I don't know if it's because of the performance of this fighter jet, or because it uses technology to absorb sounds from higher places. On the busy road, Harvey's clothing attracted some attention, but no one came up to say hello. Because they all know that people dressed in weird clothes are basically from aliens. The aliens are either vacationers, refugees who have escaped, or vicious bounty hunters. These three types of people are nothing to deal with. On his way to the location of the bounty bar, Harvey discovered that he could only understand some languages, but not all. Apparently not everyone wears a cosmic translator. Harvey's purpose in coming to Xandar was not to destroy the place, but to find some bounty tasks to do, and then use this as a starting point to raise money to found the Void Cult. If you want to establish a foothold in the universe and start a large organization, your reputation cannot be too bad from the beginning. Harvey leisurely admired everything around him and spent more than 20 minutes arriving at the approximate location Dam said. Just when Harvey was about to search, he realized that he didn't recognize any of the slogans or fonts on the billboards of the surrounding buildings. But he didn't pay attention, his eyes turned golden, and it took him only a few seconds to locate a lively bar. The location of this bar is only 1 kilometer away from where he is. Harvey moved, and within 2 seconds he appeared at the door of the bar and walked straight in. As soon as he walked in, Harvey heard loud music and several scantily clad dancers dancing under colorful lights. Some aliens with different appearances were happily clinking glasses and drinking, admiring women together. The profession of bounty hunter makes money very quickly, and it is a tool for making money easily for those who have the ability. But bounty hunting is always a profession that licks blood at the tip of a knife, so most of them make money and squander it without blinking an eye. Harvey's arrival only caused others to look at him a few times, and soon they once again focused their attention on the dancer in front of them or the beautiful woman in their arms. Harvey walked through the crowd and came to a bar. At the bar was a beautiful blonde wearing a bunny girl costume. She became somewhat interested when she saw Harvey's mysterious and solemn temperament and his rather special clothes. She directly took out a transparent screen and took a look at Harvey. She only saw Cassidon, who was from C-53, and there was no other detailed information. "Sir, are you here to send a mission or to receive a mission?" Realizing she couldn't learn any more, the bunny beauty had a charming smile on her face. "Where are you going to take the mission?" Harvey found that he understood directly and spoke directly without any nonsense. "Mr. Cassidon, this seems to be your first time taking on a mission. You can go to the bounty stand on the left to take a look. I look forward to having a drink with you when you come back." The beautiful bunny girl looked at Harvey with charming eyes and said in a soft and seductive voice. When she didn't find any information, she knew that this Cassidon was not a well-known bounty hunter, but a newcomer who just wanted to be a bounty hunter. But there is nothing wrong with being a newbie. As long as he comes back alive, he can bring back a lot of money. Then she can make a lot of money by having a drink and spending the night together. Chapter 51. Beautiful lady, I don't know those words. Could you please help me translate them? I'll buy you a few drinks when I get back. Harvey heard this and glanced at the bounty stand on the left. Different portraits and texts flickered on it from time to time, and he turned around and asked politely. "Meeting is fate. My name is Lacey. Nice to meet you." The blonde bunny girl who called herself Lacey flashed her beautiful eyes when she heard this, thought for a moment, and stretched out her white, slender and beautiful right hand. Take care of Miss Lacey. Harvey also stretched out his hand wrapped in a golden gauntlet and shook Lacey's hand. Mr. Cassadine, remember what you said, and treat me to a few drinks when you come back. Lacey was not surprised when she heard the name, but when she let go of her hand, her fingers gently slid across Harvey's gauntlet. Certainly, Lacey's seductive and flirtatious movements did not cause any fluctuation in Harvey's heart, but it did hold Lacey's hand in his hand wrapped in gauntlet and nodded slightly. Harvey knew very well that the private life of a woman like Lacey who worked at the Bounty Bar was already in chaos. Harvey is not against love, but he will never be swayed by desire, let alone fall in love with anyone he meets. Don't worry now, we will drink together when you come home with a full load. Lacey gently pulled her hand back, and the smile on her face became even more charming. Then please, Miss Lacey, please help introduce me. After Lacey withdrew her hand, Harvey's body froze slightly, and then he spoke. The other people in the Bounty Bar shook their heads when they saw Lacey's skillful routine and the reaction of this newcomer to Cassadine. Lacey is the waiter at the Bounty Bar and will announce new bounties or guide new bounty hunters on how to take on tasks. At that time, many people who had just entered Taoism had drank with Lacey, but it would cost a lot of money to ask Lacey out. There are also many people who regret it after gaining experience, but it can be said that they were willing to pay when they first paid. And there is a backstage behind Lacey. If you want to take revenge on Lacey, you have to see if you have the ability. Now another bait has been taken, allowing them to see shadows of their past. But no one reminded me that in life, you always have to experience something before you can wake up. Before the introduction, let me ask Mr. Cassadine, how strong are you and how many levels of bounties do you plan to accept? Seeing Harvey's reaction, Lacey knew that the other party had taken the bait, so she did not continue to seduce him, but asked with a smile. I don't know much about the grading of the bounty. Could you please explain it to Miss Lacey? Harvey asked with some interest after hearing this. There are only 3 levels of bounty tasks, except for some very special tasks. Level 1 is between 100,000 and 1 million. It is usually to hunt down some people or serve as guards, to eliminate some disasters, and the distance of the task is not too far. You don't necessarily need to bring your own spaceship to do it. You can go there by taking some cosmic routes on Xandar. This is the best thing for newcomers who are new to this industry. As long as you have some skills that are different from ordinary people, you can basically succeed. And there are usually other colleagues doing it together. You can learn some experiences by acting with other old colleagues. Of course, there are situations where you get cheated. You have to be careful about this. Lacey explained and reminded with a smile. 100,000 yuan is not cheap. If you spend 1,000 yuan, you can find a few women to spend the night together. Normal people usually only need 2,000 yuan to eat and drink, which is enough for a month's food expenses, and they are full every day. Harvey nodded when he heard this and continued to look at Lacey without saying anything. With 1 million to 5 million as the second level, the mission scope begins to become much larger, and the mission target becomes more dangerous. Catch and hunt down fugitives across the interstellar space, or protect some particularly dangerous merchant ships from interstellar predators, or eliminate more dangerous monsters. And there is a high probability that you will meet your peers, first come, first served. Hunting a good ship across the stars is essential. So there is a threshold for taking on this kind of task. Lacey also knew what Cassadine meant and continued. Doing this kind of work is also called not opening for 3 years, and staying open for 3 years. However, the risk factor has basically increased significantly. After all, there is still the risk of returning empty-handed or even dying at the hands of a colleague. The higher ones are 5 million to 10 million. It is often the kings of some planets or countless people who crowdfund and directly issue a joint reward. The goal of the mission is often to hunt down famous and terrifying monsters, and to snatch something special from the terrifying interstellar predator army. Or it could be to completely clean up some extremely dangerous areas so that they can be mined safely, or even hunt some ancient monsters. The reward is not only as low as 5 million yuan. As long as you complete it well, you can not only build friendships, but also get some other rewards, and there will be designated tasks in the future. Lacey continued to explain after hearing this, but this was usually a popular science for first-time bounty hunters. In fact, Level 3 bounty missions cannot be done by one person at all. Generally, only large groups with well-equipped equipment can take them on. As for the higher price, it generally does not occur except for designated tasks. Those who post bounties are not fools. They post bounties just to save trouble and not to cause their own people to suffer losses. After exceeding a certain range, if you have so much money, it is better to directly buy weapons to arm yourself and your own men, and it will be faster to solve the problem yourself. I understand. Then Miss Lacey, please tell me about the second-level bounty mission. After hearing this, Harvey also roughly understood the classification of bounty tasks and spoke. There are relatively few tasks on Blue Star that cost more than $5 million, so it is understandable. It's not like he doesn't have the confidence to do a level 3 bounty mission, but before that he needs to get his own cosmic translator. There are also various things you can buy to help you understand the bounty missions. Mr. Cassadine, I know you want to make a lot of money. Everyone wants to make a lot of money. But since you have just entered this industry, wouldn't it be a bit too hasty to go straight to level 2? Lacey's words contained some advice. Level 1 bounty missions are not difficult to complete as long as a skilled person is brave and has some weapons. When the time comes, she can use her words to seduce, and it won't be a problem to make tens of thousands. As a result, Cassadine did level 2 as soon as he came up. The mortality rate of this level of missions was greatly increased, and the completion cycle was relatively slow. She didn't want the fish she caught to die before completing even one task. Just let me see it in return for explaining it to me. When I come back, I will treat you to a few drinks. After hearing this, Harvey knew what Lacey was thinking and spoke. After hearing this, Lacey didn't try to persuade her anymore. She picked up the transparent screen in her hand and clicked it a few times, then slid it. Harvey found that all the fonts he couldn't understand were changed into characters he recognized. The tasks that can be accepted are basically more than 3 million, and those with less than 3 million have already been completed, and you can also see who has completed it. And you can directly see the appearance by clicking on it. It is obvious that the bounty hunters of the universe are more upright than the mercenaries of Blue Star who have to work on the dark side. As long as the popularity is achieved, there should be designated tasks coming. Harvey took a look at these missions, and the pursuit mission was directly passed by him. Although he can directly chase and kill across the interstellar space, he currently does not have the equipment to connect to the Bounty Intelligence Network, and if he does, his eyes will darken. Looking for a fugitive in the vast universe is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Unless Harvey is interested in the escort mission, he will not consider it at all. So Harvey's goal is naturally the task of clearing up disasters. The target location is clear. After clearing the disaster, you can just take the money and leave. This is the easiest thing. And maybe that disaster is a creature. If you kill it, you can absorb it and make the best use of it. The task of clearing disasters and hunting monsters is more complicated than Harvey thought, but it is right to think about it. Not every planet is as safe as Blue Star. Harvey picked and chose a desert monster that often caused havoc on Mowgli. The introduction to this mission is that this monster will burrow and create sandstorms that will cause great harm to the people of Mowgli. Release time is 11 years and 74 days, with a bounty of 5 million, and the number of missions received is 687. No one has been able to complete it so many times, and they obviously either died or gave up later. But Harvey didn't care. After choosing to pick it up, an interstellar route appeared on the transparent board in front of Harvey, 30 light-years away from Xandar. The bounty for completing the mission is also marked on it, which can be collected directly from Orb Mowgli, the king of the planet Mowgli. Lacey originally wanted to give some reminders, but saw this man named Cassadine take over the task. Knowing that the few glasses of wine he had were gone, he didn't bother to persuade him. He just said a blessing. I wish you good luck, Mr. Cassadine. See you later, Miss Lacey. Harvey nodded slightly when he heard this, said something and left. Lacey, it seems that your efforts were in vain this time. Stop talking, I'm upset. I bet that guy can't complete that mission, and he will probably die on that mission. Who would be stupid enough to make this bet with you? Why don't I bet that he dies and you bet that he lives? Who wouldn't be tempted by the 5 million reward, but you still have to live to get it? I'm still new to the industry. I haven't seen any real dangers. I thought I had a way to solve it. I left my right leg in the fighter jet in that desert. Facing that kind of natural disaster-like monster, if you can save a life, you are lucky. As long as you work as a bounty hunter for a long time, it will be difficult to ensure that you can still maintain your original body. Most of them have some prosthetic limbs. However, they are used to this kind of life of spending money like water and licking blood on the tip of a knife. It is impossible for them to go back and live a normal and peaceful life. If you have the ability, then use it to the last moment. Even if most of them don't end well, it's not in vain for them to come to this world. After Harvey left the bounty bar, he left Xandar in an instant and appeared in the universe. Immediately, Harvey began to search according to the direction and distance drawn in the bounty mission just now. 30 light years away, other people would have to pilot a space fighter to search for space wormholes, but for Harvey, no matter how far away the distance was, it was only one step away. Harvey looked down at the stars and soon found an Earth-yellow planet nearby. 1/3 of the planet is covered in deserts. Harvey stepped down, and the black hole appeared in the void and disappeared directly. The next second, Harvey appeared directly on a piece of yellow sand. The planet's gravity is twice as heavy as the blue stars and the temperature is like a scalding hot pot. Harvey could see the air distorted by the heat. Under the condition of higher gravity, if the average person comes here directly without protective clothing, it will not take long for him to die of thirst due to high temperature and lack of water, and then turn into a white skeleton. Those who pilot fighter planes can be considered very capable if they can get out of this land of yellow sand alive if their fighter planes are destroyed. Harvey walked on the yellow sand and could see everything under the yellow sand. Under 300 meters of this yellow sand, there are a large number of crustacean monsters. It is simply a paradise for monsters. And the further down you go, the larger the size of these crustacean monsters become. The largest monster is 20 meters wide, with a body of about 50 meters. Counting the tail, it is a full 100 meters long. And this desert monster is located 2,000 meters below the desert. This scorpion is like the queen of this yellow sand. One after another, the scorpions are more than 10 meters long, burrowing back and forth in the sand, looking for creatures on this desert. Then the food will be brought back 1,000 meters and given to the huge monster to eat. According to the intelligence, this monster can trigger sandstorms and is located under such a deep desert. It's no wonder that the mission has been accepted so many times, but no one has ever completed it. The terrifying giant hook that can set off sandstorms and accompany the sandstorms is hard to resist. If you encounter an enemy that can harm you, you will directly cause a sandstorm and drill into the bottom of the desert. This desert, which is like a burning hell to ordinary people, has become the best protective barrier for this monster. Not to mention flying a fighter plane over, even a fleet would not be able to threaten it. Unless the desert is directly destroyed, it will be difficult to kill it. This mission is actually only 5 million. It seems that the king and residents of this planet do not understand the true strength of this monster. However, this is your first task and not a designated task, so you don't ask the other party to add money. After finishing safely, establishing a good start is the most important thing. And as Harvey traveled directly through space, he came to the top of this monster. The monster at the bottom of the desert also felt that he was seen by something and opened his eyes. The biological instinct of hunting for many years has made its sense of danger very strong. The extremely heavy quicksand did not hinder its speed at all, but instead allowed it to swim straight up like a fish in water. As it swam, the thousands of meters of yellow sand around it began to flow, and a huge vortex of quicksand appeared in the desert, trying to drag Harvey directly into the bottom of the desert. Harvey just jumped into the air, and the purple energy on his body gathered into spikes, all of which were aimed at the ground. The void thrust was released directly, and countless sharp purple energy was released, most of which directly penetrated the desert for thousands of meters. The void thrust exploded directly, and the desert with a radius of 10,000 meters began to shake. A terrifying pothole appeared in the desert, and a large amount of quicksand continued to pour in. A huge black shadow appeared at the bottom of the desert, emitting a mournful cry that resounded across the sky. Yellow sand filled the sky and rolled up from the ground. When the wind blew, the yellow sand filled the sky and the earth began to change color. In front of this behemoth tens of meters long, Harvey's body seemed to be covered with a layer of purple armor. The yellow sand could not invade Harvey within 1 meter. Harvey looked at the whining desert monster, and his right hand turned into a purple scythe. With a movement of his body, he made 16 slashes in an instant. The monster's whine stopped abruptly, and its huge body was directly divided into neat pieces of flesh. A large amount of purple blood covered the only yellow desert with a layer of purple. The entire monster only has a 5-meter-long head, which is still intact. Harvey manipulated the void energy to catch it, and other falling blood clots were also caught and floated in the air. Apart from having to turn in the head to receive the reward, these are all evolutionary points. For a relatively powerful monster like this, eating them all will definitely provide him with a lot of evolution points. It's a pity that you don't have enough wisdom, otherwise I would give you a chance to believe in the void. Harvey looked at the huge dead head 10 meters away from him and said with some pity. For creatures with intelligence and reason, he only needs to tell the other party what the void will bring, and cooperate with the use of some power to make the other party believe in the void and join the void. It is not difficult. But for this kind of creature that only has biological instincts and low intelligence, it is not that easy for him to give the opponent a chance. Harvey did not regret it for too long. Although he could not win over the other party to believe in the void, at least the other party would definitely provide him with a lot of evolutionary points. He just didn't know whether this thing tasted good or not. After cooking it, Harvey didn't dare to expect it to be very delicious. He just hoped that it wouldn't taste too bad. Harvey dragged the monster's body towards the city of Mowgli. This city is only over 600 kilometers away from where this monster is. But when Harvey was flying, he saw cities one after another, which were turned into ruins due to desert weathering because they were uninhabited. There is an ecological chain in the desert, and this desert monster should have enough food to eat, but as the number of the group begins to grow, it will have to expand its territory. Until I tasted the creatures outside the desert, let alone whether they taste good or not, after knowing that there are a lot of prey outside the desert. Then this monster at the bottom of the desert will definitely hunt prey outside the desert again. It cannot be said to be cruel, it can only be said to be the instinct of living things. It is impossible for people to say that a wolf eating a sheep is a cruel act. It was just because this monster ate intelligent creatures that they panicked and issued a mission, eventually recruiting him. Harvey flew more than 600 miles and found the nearest town with desert customs and customs. The people here all have red skin, and although Harvey doesn't want to say it, in his aesthetics, these creatures of this race are a bit ugly. Harvey flew from the sky with a pile of meat, which shocked some humanoid creatures on Mowgli. I'm a little troublesome, my lord, what's the matter with you? A muscular, 2.5-meter tall man. Looking at Harvey's arrival, he asked cautiously. Harvey heard what the other party said and found that he didn't understand it at all, but there was no nonsense. He threw the monster's head directly, and with a bang, the monster's huge head fell to the ground, splashing some wind and sand. All these people were startled and stepped back more than 10 meters. Harvey also had a headache when he saw their actions. He thought for a moment, pointed at the head, and then rubbed his thumb and fingers together, implying the meaning of money, hoping that this would make the other party understand that he wanted money. Awking, Leo, is this? When the strong man saw the huge monster head, his eyes shrank and he asked again in disbelief. But when he noticed this person who could fly directly and wore strange clothes, he made a simple and easy to understand sign language meaning money. Ah Ching is not in the way, but Ah Shui is in the group. My lord, please wait. The man spoke to Harvey first. Then, regardless of whether Harvey understood or not, he turned around and told his companions to go find the mayor. They have been suffering from the desert disaster, but not many people know what the desert disaster looks like. Because desert disasters are often accompanied by sandstorms, only a general outline can be seen. Fortunately, the mayor has lived for at least 200 years and may know something. Harvey saw their men running away and decided to wait a moment. If he can't find anyone to communicate with in this town, he will continue to find a more prosperous city. The cosmic translator cannot be seen on Blue Star, but it should not be difficult to find it in the universe. There will always be someone with a cosmic translator on the entire Mowgli star, otherwise the other party would not be able to issue a reward. 10 minutes passed, and an old man with a wrinkled face and red beard and hair ran over quickly with bare feet. It was not surprising that Harvey saw this old man displaying bodily functions that were completely inconsistent with his appearance. Because the life energy of these guys is very strong, and their feet step directly on the hot yellow sand and are not affected at all. "My lord, my name is Alex, the mayor here. Did you help us kill the desert disaster?" Although the old man was old, he kept his attitude low when facing Harvey, who couldn't see his face clearly, and asked respectfully. "Yes, take me to the king of your planet, Orb Mowgli, to get the reward I deserve." Harvey found that he could understand and spoke. "Our king lives in the capital of Mowgli, tens of thousands of miles away from here. I am already old, so it is difficult to take you to the king. But I can help you pass on the message and ask them to send someone over to see you. You helped us solve the desert disaster and relieved us of the major disaster we had been worried about. I hope you can give us a chance to entertain you." The old man named Alex showed great respect. Following the old man's words, other people around him heard that this monster was really a disaster in the desert, and they all looked at Harvey with admiration and gratitude. "I have a big appetite. If you treat me to a banquet, you will lose a lot of money, so I won't take advantage of you. You can help me cook this desert disaster and leave ahead for me to collect the reward." Harvey heard that the other party was going to entertain him and said, "Okay, we've always been good at cooking sand shell scorpions. You will be served the best food." After hearing this, Alex readily agreed. Harvey heard this and put all the remaining pieces of meat on the ground. More than 30 strong men began to work together to carry these pieces of meat to a huge circular stone pit. Sand shell scorpions are resistant to heat but are afraid of water. They will burrow into the sand when they are alive, and water cannot touch them at all. However, as long as there is water after they die, their shells can shatter at any time. "This warrior, I have already sent someone to notify you. I will wait for you to finish your feast. The King's Guard's fighter planes will also arrive, and then you can receive your reward." After inviting people to cook, Alex said to Harvey. He didn't know who the man in the golden armor was, but the man was incredibly powerful in solving the desert disaster, and he could also fly directly. He was definitely an amazing strong man. The best way to survive in the face of the strong is to remain humble. Harvey did not refuse after hearing this and nodded. Later, Harvey also found a stone and sat directly in the air. With the void robe condensed by magic, the ultra-high temperature could not reach Harvey at all. The Mowgli people were full of curiosity when they saw that this man could fly directly. They are not afraid of the heat by nature, and their physical fitness and endurance are excellent. They can run in this yellow sand land for several hours without getting tired. I have also seen other people from aliens. Those people came in powerful interstellar fighters. The alien technology is still very powerful. It's just that they have never seen anyone who can fly directly without relying on a fighter plane or special technology. "Warrior, I wonder what I should call you." Mayor Alex looked at Harvey and asked respectfully. "My name is Cassidon. I'm just getting paid to do errands and will be leaving soon. So you don't need to call me warrior." When Harvey heard this, he glanced at Alex and said calmly, "Please don't get me wrong, I didn't mean to offend you. But may I venture to ask you a question?" After hearing this, Alex immediately waved his hand, looking apologetic, and then asked cautiously. Harvey was thoughtful when he heard the words and nodded slightly. "Mr. Cassidon, you can fly directly, and you can also kill countless desert scourges that no one else can kill. Excuse me, are you a god?" Alex saw Harvey nodding with some admiration in his eyes. The Mowgli clan has always lived in this desert. The relationship between them and the sand shell scorpions has always been a biological chain of hunting or being hunted. They may return with a full load or there may be some casualties, and they will hold memorials and mourning and then carry out sand burials. However, since the desert disaster occurred more than 20 years ago, countless tribesmen have been directly involved in sandstorms, and then fell into the terrifying desert quicksand and died. When the king first heard the news, he tried his best to deal with the desert disaster. He also performed sacrifices in the hope of praying for God's help. Because the desert disaster completely broke the balance between the Mowgli tribe and the sandshell scorpions, it became a disaster. But no matter how pious they were, They offered many foods to the temples left by the gods in the past, but the gods never responded to the sacrifices. Finally, the king was forced to seek help from aliens. Also, because they sought help from aliens, the older generation of high-ranking people were all assigned cosmic translators. Over the past few years, Alex has also seen many aliens and alien technology that he has never seen before. He has seen terrorist bombs detonate directly, turning an area into a radiation-restricted zone. I have also seen a space fleet composed of more than 30 fighter planes, and the terrifying Vitality swept the desert. But nothing can be done about the desert disaster. Originally, he had no hope of killing the desert disaster. He could only lead his people to migrate to the land and flee according to the desert disaster's expansion area. Unexpectedly, desert disaster is dead now. For those who can kill desert disaster, he can only describe it as a god. Yes. Harvey heard this and glanced at Alex with golden eyes. Then you must have your world and your temple. When Alex heard this, the admiration in his eyes became a little excited, and his words were also a little excited. There are legends of gods that are similar to each other on every planet, and naturally they also exist in their world. However, he has lived for more than 200 years and has never seen a real god. He even thought that God did not exist. But now he has seen the real God. Even if this Kassadin is a foreign god, being able to contact God is a miracle in itself. I come from the void. Seeing Alex's excitement, Harvey did not answer directly, but explained where he came from. His current power is comparable to some gods who are not very powerful, so there is no problem in calling himself a god. But Harvey currently has no temple and no world of his own. My clan has been praying to the gods for many years, but we have never seen any sign of the gods. God from the void, thank you for coming and protecting the Mowgli tribe. The 5 million dedicated to you will be delivered soon. I hope you can give us a chance to build a temple for you. If our clan encounters a major disaster, we will continue to pay tribute to you with what you need. I beg you to continue to protect our clan in the future. After hearing this, Alex knelt down and said in a pious voice, the technology of the Mowgli clan is not the most advanced in the universe, but they also have fighter planes that can go to the universe. They can use technology to counteract various natural and man-made disasters, but they have been facing desert disasters for more than 20 years, and they have no way to counter them. He knew that this was an alien god, and he also knew that Kassadin, the god from the void, was attracted because the king paid a large amount of money. The other party is not a local god but an alien god, so paying tribute to what the other party needs and obtaining the other party's blessing is an exchange of equal value. When Harvey heard that the other party was going to build a temple for himself, he thought deeply and closed his eyes to carefully look at the entire Mowgli planet. Wanting to find traces of the gods on this planet, he saw whether it was this land of yellow sand, land or deep sea. There are temples one after another, but all those temples are dilapidated. Although Harvey did not do deep research on archaeology, he only passed those destroyed temples. Generally speaking, it seems that there will be no miracles for at least 1,000 years, otherwise it should still be intact to this day. Alex was lying on the ground, extremely nervous, waiting for Kassadin's response. If you want to build a temple for me, I can give you some blessings. If there is any major disaster that cannot be solved in the future, you can pray for my coming. After Harvey knew that there was no trace of God in this world, he looked at Alex lying on the ground and said, his fundamental purpose in coming to the universe is to establish the void divine religion and recruit more creatures to join the void, allowing him to obtain more void energy. If there were no gods in this world, he could safely recruit some creatures to join the void and let them develop slowly here. After he becomes stronger, he can completely convert Mowgli into the void cult and join the void. If you want to establish the void god religion and let more people start to believe in it, you must first give some people power. Harvey pointed with his right hand, and green life energy poured directly into Alex's body. Under the watch of a group of people around him, Alex's originally white hair and beard turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye, and red hair was the hair color of the Mowgli tribe when they were young. Thank you, Kassadin, the god of the void, for your gift. Alex felt the power coming from his body continuously. He saw that his old and wrinkled hands began to become vigorous and powerful, and he was filled with admiration. As he shouted these words, Harvey also received a reminder from the system. Mowgli star Alex Mowgli hopes to believe in and understand the void. Do you want to accept letting him join the great void? Faced with this request, Harvey directly chose yes. Alex's body rose into the air, wrapped in purple energy. The other Mowgli clan members around them all widened their eyes when they saw this incredible scene. Although they didn't understand what Cassidy said, they all understood what the mayor said. At this time, in front of them was a god from the void. The mayor prayed for the god's blessing, and seemed to get a response. Within a few dozen seconds, Alex opened his eyes. Thank you for God's gift. I will definitely build a temple for you and believe in you for the rest of my life before I die. Mowgli saw the power of the god of the void. After waking up, he fell to the ground in admiration and said piously. Because he recruited Alex, he contributed 1,000 void energy to Harvey, which was obviously not too much. However, as long as Lix allows more of his kind to believe in the void, then the distance to 100 million void energy will be very close. You have received my blessing and joined the void, so you must remember 3 rules. 1. After receiving my gift, you can swallow anything with energy to evolve and gain more power, but you must not swallow living things. 2. I won't care if you cause disputes and cause some deaths with your increasingly powerful power, but you must not cannibalize your own kind no matter what. 3. Stay rational at all times. Don't be swayed by desire and become an irrational monster. If you become such a monster, I will personally come and execute you. The Great Void will give all creatures the opportunity to believe. Harvey said as he saw Alex, who was in awe of him. Dear Lord Cassidy, the God of the Void, I will remember your teachings and make them the lifelong commandments of the temple. When Alex heard this, he nodded solemnly and said extremely seriously. He saw Lord Cassidy's true form, which was as big and terrifying as a galaxy, and he knew how powerful this lord was. Moreover, the blessing given by Lord Cassidy was also a miracle. He is already over 200 years old. Even if he does not have any major physical illness at the Mowgli age, he will die in another 20 or 30 years. It can be said that we are approaching the end of our lives, and our bodies are no longer as strong as they used to be. But now his hair color has changed to half red and half white, making him at least 30 or 40 years younger. And as long as he eats, he can gain more power, which is simply unimaginable. Well, I look forward to your future performance. As long as your people are pious enough and believe in the void, then I will give them gifts and let them join the great void. Harvey looked at Alex and said, yes. When Alex received this promise, he was overjoyed and nodded immediately. Others also cooked the desert disaster, and together they carried it directly to the big rocks one after another. Lord Cassidy, your food is ready. When Alex saw them bringing the food over, he felt a twinge of hunger in his stomach. He swallowed, but still controlled his desire to eat, and said respectfully. Harvey reached out and took off his mask, and his appearance was covered in golden light, making it impossible for others to see through. Master Cassidy, please eat slowly. Please allow me to leave first. Seeing this scene, Alex made a respectful request. Harvey waved and Alex immediately went home. He needed to find some food, otherwise he might be punished directly by God if he acted irrationally because he was so hungry. The shell of desert disaster is very hard, and the taste is similar to eating pork. As for the meaty texture, it may be because the gravity of this planet is twice that of the blue star, so the meat is very tight. Without good teeth, this thing is really not that easy to crush. Every time Harvey eats a large piece, he gains 50,000 evolution points. This desert disaster has a total of 34 stages. Eating them all can directly allow Harvey to evolve once. If it weren't for Desert Disaster's head, he would have eaten the several-meter-long head. But the king of the Mowgli tribe should take the head of the desert scourge to appease the masses. Taking into account leaving a good impression on the king of this planet, his temple should also be better established here. Harvey thought it was better not to negotiate with the other party and keep the head. Anyway, there are more than one powerful creature in the universe, so he doesn't need to be impatient. The people of Mowgli Star saw the desert disaster that was 100 meters large. In more than 2 hours, it was all swallowed up by the god of the void. None of them were frightened, just shocked. After Harvey finished eating, his evolution points reached 2.17 million, but he did not choose to evolve on the spot. He would wait until he completed this task and found a place to stay. And it was at this moment that the roar of the jets echoed around. 30 khaki fighter planes surrounded a huge battleship, descended from the sky, and stopped accurately outside the town. As the battleship's hatch opened, a shirtless red figure, 2.8 meters tall and exuding a sense of explosive power, walked out. As soon as the red figure appeared, Alex knelt down on one knee, and the other residents of the town also knelt down on one knee. The red figure kicked off the ground with both feet, leapt more than 10 meters high and landed over a distance of more than 100 meters. In just 10 jumps, he arrived 100 meters away from Harvey. The red figure saw that Harvey was the only one in strange clothes that he had never seen before, and he did not kneel down. At the same time, he also saw the head of a nearly 6-meter-long sand-shell scorpion 10 meters away from Harvey. "I am Orb Mowgli, King of Mowgli. You must be the warrior who solved the desert disaster." The man came to Harvey, smiled on his face, extended his hand and introduced himself. "My name is Kassadin, and I come from the void. You should have brought the reward for solving the desert disaster, right?" Harvey also introduced himself after hearing this and asked, "Of course, you have solved the problem that has troubled our clan for more than 20 years, and the reward will naturally be no less for you." After speaking, Orb Mowgli gestured to the person behind him. The man behind him also whistled directly after receiving the instruction. Several big men carried 5 huge boxes directly from the space battleship and got off the battleship. "Kassadin, you can solve the desert disaster. Your strength is the most powerful I have ever seen. I hope we can establish a friendship. If there are still creatures that are difficult for us to solve in the future and we can cooperate with you, of course I will pay you the money normally. I wonder if you can exchange cosmic signals with me." Orb Mowgli watched Harvey extend his hand and said with a smile. Of course he knew that it was impossible to directly recruit Harvey, an alien. However, it is a very good starting point to be able to establish some friendships and be able to pay and specifically request help from the other party in the future. "I don't have any cosmic signals. I will come to Mowgli as a guest again in the future." Harvey wanted to exchange after hearing this, because this was the beginning of a designated mission, but now he didn't even have a cosmic translator, let alone a cosmic signal or a universal bank account. "Okay, next time you are a guest, please come to our capital Saran to take a look." Orb Mowgli was a little surprised to hear that there was no cosmic signal, but he also heard that Kassadin planned to leave after taking the money. He knew that there was no point in forcing him to stay, so he sent a friendly signal. "Must." When Harvey heard this, he also stretched out his hand and shook it with Orb Mowgli. Then, Harvey crossed hundreds of meters in one step and appeared in front of the 5 boxes. Harvey reached out and touched the boxes. With one more step, Harvey disappeared from the sight of everyone on Mowgli. When Orb Mowgli saw this magical method of teleportation, he was shocked and looked at Alex. "Lix, you've gotten younger. Tell me about the Kassadin just now." Orb Mowgli noticed that Alex's hair had turned half red and half white, his eyes flashed, and he spoke. "Yes, when the king came, I established a relationship of faith and blessing with Lord Kassadin, the god of the void, and received God's blessing." After hearing this, Alex stood up and began to explain the situation. "Can alien gods be pious enough to receive blessings? Lix, you are the only void believer on our planet Mowgli. I allow you to build a temple for him and have a look. The money will be allocated directly to you when I get back. I look forward to your performance." After Orb Mowgli learned about it, he looked at the place where Harvey disappeared just now, thought about it, and said, "Mowgli has not seen a miracle for too long, and now an alien god has arrived. If Faith can be blessed, this may be an opportunity for their family." But before that, he had to observe Alex's situation. If in the past 6 months or even more than a year, Alex's body had not experienced any uncontrollable conditions or side effects, he wouldn't mind building more temples for Kassadin, the god of the void. After Harvey left Mowgli, he directly took 5 large boxes and returned to Xandar through the void. Harvey decided to get some money and equipment first, apply for bank cards, etc., and then go to the Bounty Bar to treat Lacey to a few drinks. He used magic to carry the box directly, entered the city of Xandar, and asked anyone about the location of the Universe Bank. After queuing up to fill out the form and spending several hours before the sun went down, Harvey successfully registered his own Universe Bank card. And with the help of people from Xandar Star Bank, Harvey obtained 2 cosmic translators and 2 cosmic communicators. The price is also very cheap, only costing more than 3,000 yuan. Harvey clicked on his right arm and found that a transparent box popped up, and because of the Universe Translator, these fonts were all translated into blue star characters. You can access the internet at any time, and there is no language barrier. The technology of the universe is really good. Use. Harvey decided to take it back to Tony and let Tony study it to see if he could make it or get any inspiration. It would be best to get a space fighter plane and bring it back to Tony. If he directly buys the space fighter, it will be more troublesome since he has no connections. However, he could look at other bounties. If circumstances permitted, it wouldn't be difficult to get one back intact. After Harvey completed the processing, he came to the bounty bar again. Everyone in the bounty bar slowed down their breathing when they saw the man wearing purple gold armor and a golden mask reappearing. If you want to ask why, it is of course that the desert disaster mission was completed by the bounty master more than an hour ago. The completed bounty hunter is the Kassadin they see now. A task that no one had completed in 10 years was released, and it was completed in less than a day after being taken over. They wouldn't be surprised if Kassadin spent a day traveling to Mowgli. Because it is only 30 light years away, as long as you have your own space fighter plane and find a wormhole to jump to, you can reach it. But the scariest thing is that Kassadin not only arrived but actually solved it. How difficult the desert disaster mission is, many bounty hunters present have heard about it even if they have not taken it. Because the entire land of yellow sand is the scope of activities of the desert disaster, it cannot be solved by sending a fleet of fleets there. Even if they release some destructive weapons, as long as they don't blast through the bottomless desert, they won't be able to threaten the cunning and powerful desert disaster at all. They didn't know how Kassadin did it. They only knew that Kassadin's strength and methods were too terrifying to imagine. Harvey turned a blind eye to their cautious prying eyes and went straight to the bar seat in front of Lacey and sat down. "Miss Lacey, please bring me a few glasses of wine, and a few glasses for you too." Harvey sat in his seat and said with a smile. Lacey originally thought that Kassadin, who had just entered the bounty hunting industry, would die from his arrogance and stupidity. Unexpectedly, only half a day had passed before she received a referral reward of 5,000 yuan. This means that the bounty owner, Orb Mowgli, has settled the money for the bounty mission and given the bounty organization some due fees. Generally speaking, it is recommended for bounty hunters who are entering this industry for the first time to complete their first mission. 1,000 yuan was considered a lot for her, but this time it was 5,000 yuan. Until now, Lacey felt a little unreal, looking at Kassadin whose face was unclear with the golden mask. "Have you really completed that mission?" Lacey asked in disbelief. "Certainly. I didn't have a cosmic translator on me before, so I couldn't understand the bounty, let alone the rules. So I would also like to thank you, Miss Lacey, for introducing me. You did me a favor. I wonder if I have a chance. Miss Lacey, could you please have a few drinks and chat with me?" Harvey heard the words with some smile and extended the invitation. He gained quite a lot this time. Not only did he get the basic equipment for walking in the universe, it also made his future actions no longer troublesome. He had to find someone with a cosmic translator to communicate. And the desert disaster he ate provided him with enough evolution points to evolve once. The most important thing is that he planted a seed on Mowgli. Now as long as he waits for some time, Alex will definitely help him recruit more people from Mowgli to join the Void. But now he still needs to find out with Lacey how to connect to the bounty organization's network on the cosmic communicator so that he can truly integrate into the universe. "Mr. Kassadin's invitation is an honor for me." Lacey was a little shocked when she heard Harvey's words, but soon a charming and seductive smile appeared on her face. She glanced at Harvey with a charming look and said in a soft voice, "It's impossible to trick Harvey directly. After all, this is a strong man who can complete the equivalent of a third-level bounty. This kind of strong person is usually a celebrity in the bounty hunting world and does not need recommenders at all. He will know the tasks he wants to do by himself. The best way to communicate with such a strong person is to communicate, rather than trying to trick the other party. Although Xandar has laws and cannot use force casually, and she also has some backers behind her, everyone who can complete the third level bounty is a powerful and evil person. As long as you dare to cheat the other party will dare to kill you. Cherry, help me mix some glasses of wine. Mr. Cassadine invited me for a few drinks. Lacey looked at the bartender on the side and said something. Then she swayed her charming waist, her long white legs wrapped under stockings, walked out of the bar, came to the seat next to Harvey and sat down. Miss Lacey, please teach me how to use the cosmic communicator. What should I do if I want to connect directly to the bounty system? Harvey clicked his right hand directly, and a projection appeared. Although bounty hunting is not very popular in the universe, it is still a legitimate profession, so you can connect to it at any time as long as you search. It's just that some hunting missions may cause some inevitable damage, so they are not popular on some planets. But generally speaking, as long as you carry out your mission, the Xandarians, Kree, and Sovereigns are not affected. If you are not popular on some planets, you won't be affected much, but you may be put on a bounty. Lacey leaned forward slightly, and as she spoke, she stretched out her white, slender hands, her fingers as white and delicate as a butterfly, and helped Harvey input the bounty hunter's network. The round soft flesh that was so far away from Lacey's chest was almost touching Harvey's body. The other bounty hunters in the bar stared. Although some of them have been tricked by Lacey in the past, they have to admit that Lacey has a good skin. Moreover, Lacey knows how to grasp the size of a man and knows how to please a man so that the other person can get pleasure both visually and physically. This reminded them of the first time they came into contact with Lacey. Although they later learned that they had been cheated out of a sum of money, their impression of Lacey was always good. Occasionally, when interest arises, they will spend more money to have an appointment with Lacey, so that their eyes, body, and emotions can experience the ultimate pleasure. Harvey didn't show any obvious resistance to Lacey's initiative. He just let it take its course and learned about some of the overt and covert rules about bounty hunters from Lacey. He is very strong, but not so strong that he completely ignores all the rules, so he still has to abide by what he should abide by. With Lacey's help, Harvey successfully registered an account and entered the bounty website. It contains his resume, his appearance, what tasks he has completed, and his level as a bounty hunter has directly become level 2. By the way, Lacey also took the initiative to help Harvey download and register the account of the bounty hunter's special intelligence network Light and Shadow. This allows you to directly search for more information about the bounty mission and make more complete preparations. However, if you want to know the latest information related to the mission, you need to pay extra to view it. The information on the basic 9 missions will have high information accuracy. But if it is information about interstellar predators and bounty hunters, it cannot be guaranteed to be 100% accurate. I can only provide the planets I frequent, what abilities I have, etc. Interstellar predators and bounty hunters tend to have many enemies, so they generally don't stay in one place for too long. Only a handful of powerful interstellar predators and bounty hunters dare to stay on the same planet all year round without fear of enemy retaliation. After Lacey helped complete the registration, she explained the role of Light and Shadow. It's enough to know more information. Miss Lacey, can you tell me besides the doll, Kree, and Sovereigns? Are there any people in the universe who absolutely cannot be offended? Harvey didn't mind after hearing this and asked more about the situation. Lacey heard this question, thought about it, and continued to explain. If we talk about stripping off the 3 races above you, it's not too much to say that we must not offend in the universe. Those must be the gods of Asgard and Olympus. Whether you have heard of them before or not, as long as you are a bounty hunter, you will also hear the names of Odin and Zeus. Their strength and status can be called gods, ruling multiple worlds. But they basically only stay in their own world. It's not easy to encounter them in the universe, so you don't have to worry too much about offending them. There are also Gao Tianzun from Sokka Star and the Collector from the Land of Nothingness. Gao Tianzun and the Collector are brothers. They are both monsters who have lived for countless ages. Through the long years, they have accumulated terrible wealth that people like us can't even imagine, and countless people have worked for them. They are also the ones who publish the most bounty offers. If you offend them, you can say you offend all bounty hunters. As soon as the reward is announced, countless colleagues will come to hunt and arrest him. Gao Tianzun and the Collector also live in seclusion, and you will basically not encounter them. Compared to them, what you should pay attention to most is Thanos, who is powerful and has recently caused turmoil in various places in the universe. You can learn more about his information yourself later. If you receive any information then, avoid it and don't have a head-on conflict with them. These are actually common sense in the universe. Cassidon will naturally understand it after he stays in the universe for a longer time, so Lacey has no need to hide it. Cassidon was able to complete the Desert Disaster mission, which was a mission that even a group of well-equipped fleets could not complete in the past, but Cassidon completed it. Although I don't know how it was done, in Lacey's opinion, Cassidon is definitely very powerful. But the characters she mentioned all have huge power. No matter how strong Cassidon is on his own, he can't defeat 4 people with just 2 fists. However, a strong man like Cassidon, who can perform the equivalent of a 3rd-level bounty mission right from the start, only needs to avoid these few people who must not be offended. You can live extremely carefree in the universe. When Harvey heard these familiar names, he knew it in his heart. He glanced at the price of the most expensive wine above the bar, which was $3,000 a glass. His right hand touched Lacey's arm, and a projection appeared. Harvey clicked a few times to bring up the transfer interface, entered 100,000 and clicked OK. Miss Lacey, your information is very useful to me. This 100,000 yuan will be used as money for me to buy you a drink. I think we will see each other again in the future. But it's getting late now, and I still need to find a place to stay, so I'm leaving first. Harvey stood up, his words laced with gratitude. Because she knew Cassidon was a strong man, Lacey did not dare to trick Cassidon, but chose a softer approach, hoping to establish a friendly relationship with him. Unexpectedly, Cassidon's first move was 100,000 yuan. You must know that her basic salary working here is only 8,000 yuan per month. If you want to make more money, you have to rely on commissions, and rely on your appearance to sell your body to seduce and please men. If you count the commission, if you are lucky, you can earn this 100,000 in 2 months, and if you are not lucky, you can also earn this 100,000 in 3 months. However, if the commission is not included, Cassidon's payment is equivalent to her basic salary for 1 year, which can be said to be extremely generous. Mr. Cassidine, I think we can talk all night long. And it should be your first time coming to Xandar. I can introduce you to more things. When Lacey saw Cassidon being so generous, she stood up, put her right hand on her chest and spoke proactively. Although she didn't know Cassidon's race or appearance, there was a high probability that Cassidon was a handsome guy because of his superior aura. No, Miss Lacey, you have helped me enough. This is just a fulfillment of my previous promise. I think there will be times when I want to ask you for information in the future. Looking forward to our next meeting, Miss Lacey. Harvey shook his head slightly when he heard this, and after saying goodbye, his body turned into a purple light and disappeared directly into the bar. Lacey was a little stunned when she saw Cassidon leaving. She relied on her beauty and skills to hang out in the Bounty Bar for many years. From being a waiter serving drinks and food when she first joined the job, she worked her way up to the position of an intelligence leader, and she also had a backer behind her. Although she is not as good as those big shots, ordinary people dare not molest her directly. Because she has no special superpowers, she can make a lot of money with this. All she has is a good skin, and she has studied many techniques to seduce men. So Lacey will still take the initiative to seduce men. With her beauty, she has been able to seduce new bounty hunters in the past, as long as they don't have abnormal aesthetics. She basically hit every hook and never missed. I never thought that she would take the initiative today, even if she said it for such a reason, she still missed it. She could understand if Cassidon disliked her, but Mr. Cassidon said he looked forward to seeing her next time. It didn't seem like he disliked her, which made Lacey feel a little subtle. And the way Harvey left attracted the attention of the entire Bounty Bar. Renally, I didn't see clearly what he did when he left. Did you see it clearly? No, not even a trace was seen. Does that mean it's not as simple as being fast? Well, it's most likely the ability to teleport. I'll tell you a scary thing. I predicted my future. In my future, I can see all your next actions and actions. But in my future, there is no trace of Cassidon, as if he doesn't exist. I can only see all his actions with my naked eyes, just like you guys. You should know what this means. As soon as these words came out, the more than 30 bounty hunters in the bounty bar were immediately silenced. People with superpowers are not new in the universe, there are some people with superpowers present. Possess a powerful body or possess supersonic speed, or have psychic abilities or even predict the future to a small extent. Most of those who work as bounty hunters are powerful people with abilities that are different from ordinary people. They use their superpowers to get rid of their daily working hours and have everything under their own control. Renly, who said he couldn't see the speed, is a supersonic, a level 2 bounty hunter. Renly has also worked with others to complete level 3 bounty missions. The task of level 3 bounty has never been said to be impossible for level 2 hunters. As long as several level 2 hunters with strong abilities and tacit understanding join forces, it can be completed. There is no one in the entire bounty world who can be called a third-level bounty hunter. Only certain interstellar teams that are formed together and cooperate with each other to complete enough third-level tasks have a chance of being promoted to a third-level bounty hunter group. And even if you are promoted to the third-level bounty hunter, you will still be the second-level bounty hunter when investigating the level of the bounty hunter. However, the logo of the third-level bounty hunter team will be added in the future. The person who is said to be able to see into the future is the prophet, who is also a second-level bounty hunter. Although you cannot directly see through other people's futures, you can clearly see your own future and what is about to happen around you. When a catastrophe or extremely dangerous thing strikes, the scope of the ability to predict will be greatly increased. With this superpower, the predictor possesses powerful fighting ability and firearm skills, and is a celebrity in the bounty world. The most important thing is that when working with the predictor, you can reduce a lot of death risks and greatly increase the success rate of completing tasks. He is also the one who is most often invited by others to collaborate on missions, and is one of the members of the third-level bounty team, the interstellar team. Most of the people present had cooperated with the prophet, and this was the first time they heard the prophet say that someone exceeded his prediction. Moreover, Renault, whose speed reached supersonic speed, said that he could not see Cassidon's movements clearly. There is no need to think about reaching the speed of light. They have not heard of anyone whose speed can reach the speed of light. Therefore, Cassidon's ability can only be achieved if he has the ability to teleport. Although there are many people with superpowers in the universe, the world of bounty hunters is even more talented. As long as the bounty hunters are slightly famous, they all have special skills or superpowers. They had never seen a strong man with the ability to teleport, but they had also heard of it. But they did not forget that Cassidon's first mission required him to go to Mowgli, 30 light years away. They had discussed this matter together before. How did Cassidon reach Mowgli so quickly and complete the Desert Scourge's bounty? But now that we know that Cassidon has the ability to teleport, everything makes sense. It was also because he knew that Cassidon might have the terrifying teleportation ability to directly cross 30 light years and teleport to Mowgli. It makes them feel uneasy. They must know that the gods of Asgard can teleport through the universe's famous Rainbow Bridge before they can instantly descend to various worlds. Without the Rainbow Bridge, the gods of Asgard would not be able to travel directly to various planets across light-year distances at will. Now, a strong man appears, who is suspected to have this terrifying teleportation ability. And teleportation may be just one of Cassidon's abilities. After all, the teleportation ability alone cannot complete the desert disaster mission. A strong man like Cassidon suddenly appeared. If it weren't for their peers, they would at best avoid him in the future. They don't need to worry too much if everyone is on the same page, but the problem is that this kind of strong man is their peer. All bounty hunters in the bounty world are talented people, and sometimes they perform dangerous tasks together. They are even more comfortable working together, and I wish they could form a team with each other to complete tasks together. But if their bounty is too high and they are favored by their peers, then the companions who used to be the most comfortable and best to cooperate with will become the most difficult opponents. But being tricky doesn't mean there are no ways to deal with it. The universe is so big, and the bounty is really high, at least the time spent on one planet is less. It's not that easy for the other party to catch them all the way. However, Cassidon, who is suspected to have the ability to teleport across light years, appeared, and told the prophet that it was beyond the scope of his prediction. This is definitely an unimaginably strong man. If Cassidon targets them because of the bounty, then there may be no hiding place for them in the entire universe. Because as soon as the opponent takes over the mission and searches for the latest information, they may directly land on various planets, without even allowing them time to escape in a space fighter plane. Then they have to pay attention to whether their actions in the future will be subject to too high a reward. I investigated and found out that he just came to Xandar today. And there is no record of him flying away in a fighter plane, so his teleportation may be genuine. I just don't know what other powerful abilities he has. Give me some time and I'll investigate more. Because they were aware of some situations, some people began to investigate the information directly and spoke. Those will take time to investigate, but judging from his first order when he first entered the industry, it seems that he only takes large orders. The one with the highest bounty among us seems to be Renault of 1.5 million, right? There is still some distance between us and a big order. Please try to pay more attention to your behavior when performing tasks in the future. These words made the other bounty hunters in the bar breathe a sigh of relief. The reward of 1.5 million is not low, but in the eyes of several second-level bounty hunters present, it is also considered a small order. In order to pursue Renault for the 1.5 million, it would be better to cooperate with Renault to complete some big orders and make more money. As for the first-level bounty hunter, there is no threat to Renault at all, because the first-level bounty hunter and the second-level bounty hunter are not at the same level at all. And Harvey didn't know that there would be so many worries in the bounty hunter bar. Because of the cosmic translator, there is finally no obstacle to Harvey's communication. So after Harvey left the bar, he quickly asked where the most famous hotel in Xandar was. The name of the hotel was Celebrity. When Harvey came outside this celebrity hotel, he looked up and saw the hotel, which was at least 70 stories high, and stepped inside. There are many beautiful women sitting or standing in the hall. Because of Harvey's arrival, the mysterious and solemn aura directly caught their attention. Before they could take action, the nearest woman with a pure and pleasant figure had already arrived in front of Harvey. "Sir, are you here to see someone?" the young woman asked politely. "No, I'm here to check in." Harvey shook his head slightly when he heard this. "So sir, which room did you reserve?" the woman asked immediately after hearing that she was here to check in. "I came to check in without an appointment." Harvey heard this and spoke. "Sir, according to the rules of our hotel, we need to make a reservation in advance before you can check in. I know this may disturb your interest, but please come back after making an appointment." The young woman bowed slightly and said with respect, "Can't you check in directly without going through the formalities?" When Harvey heard that he couldn't move in directly, he frowned slightly and said, "I'm very sorry if I offended you. But sir, you don't have a reservation. If you want to check in directly, you must pay a one-time payment of 300,000 yuan for 1 month's room before you can check in. I see that you, sir, are a new face. You are probably here for tourism and will not stay in Xandar for a long time. If you want to experience a celebrity hotel, I personally recommend making a reservation. This way, you only pay for the few days you stay in Xandar Star, so you won't break the bank." When the woman heard Harvey's dissatisfied words, she bowed and apologized, and explained the reason. Then stay for a month. After Harvey heard the reason, he felt much more relaxed and said directly, "Okay, sir, please come with me to register and pay." When the woman heard that the other party actually insisted on moving in, she didn't try to persuade him anymore and showed a professional smile on her face. Harvey followed the woman through the lavishly decorated lobby to the front desk. The woman clicked on the front desk and a projection screen appeared. "Sir, please fill in the information and pay, and then I will take you to your room." The woman stepped aside and said politely. Harvey filled out his name without any nonsense and paid. "Dear Mr. Cassidy, your room is 7777. Please come with me and I will take you there." After the young woman saw the other party paying, a smile appeared on her face. Harvey nodded slightly and started walking. "Mr. Cassidy, my name is Sonia, please forgive me for my previous rudeness. Let me introduce you to our celebrity hotel. Our celebrity hotel provides all-inclusive meals for breakfast, lunch and dinner. The dishes are different every day, and special snacks will be served in the afternoon. There's a dance every month, where you might be able to meet the woman you're attracted to or make friends with similar interests. I just don't know if you would like to eat in your room or go to the food court. When Sonia led Harvey into the hanging staircase and entered the password to go to the room on the 77th floor, she took the initiative to introduce and ask. I like to eat in my room. Now get me a dinner for 200 people and send it to my room. Harvey heard that breakfast, lunch and dinner were all inclusive, which was why Harvey chose to stay in this hotel after asking passers-by. According to his diet, it would cost more than 300,000 yuan to eat for a month. Moreover, he didn't know much about Xandar, so it would be very troublesome if he had to find different delicacies by himself. This hotel is actually all-inclusive and the dishes are different every day. The taste is guaranteed and it saves a lot of trouble. How can Harvey not be tempted by this? But as soon as Harvey opened his mouth, it was food for 200 people. This gave Sonia a headache, and she even regretted taking the initiative to come forward, but since she had already received the reception, she naturally had to take responsibility to the end. Sir, if you order too much and fail to finish it, it will be a violation of the law more than 3 times. Our hotel will need to charge you extra fees. A forced smile appeared on Sonia's face. It's no wonder that Sonia is like this, because if Cassidon orders too much food and doesn't finish it, he will commit more fouls. If this gentleman named Cassidine is unwilling to pay, then it will be deducted directly from her salary. You don't need to worry about this. If you violate the rules, I will pay for it. And not only will you bring me food tonight, but I will also bring it to you in the next month. Just send me instructions and prepare enough food for me. Harvey glanced at Sonia, who was forcing a smile, and said. With your words, I feel relieved. Sonia was a little surprised to hear this, not just this time but every time, but now that she had this assurance, she felt more at ease and spoke. Harvey took the hanging ladder all the way to the 77th floor, which was a sky villa wrapped in a layer of special glass. Mr. Cassidine, you will have the control of this villa for the next month. But there is an absolute no-no and a word of caution for you. The rule is that you are not allowed to sublet to others for profit. If our hotel finds out, all your room fees will be confiscated and you will be kicked out. A reminder is that if something in the villa is damaged, you need to pay for the repair or purchase. Other than that, you can bring anyone you want. I hope you enjoy your stay here in the next month. If you need help with anything, you can ask the eye to call me directly. No matter what time, I will answer your call as soon as possible and come to serve you quickly. After Sonia brought Harvey to this floor, she continued to explain the situation. I understand, go and prepare food for me. Harvey nodded lightly and spoke. Okay, please wait a moment, your food will be brought to you soon. Sonia heard that Harvey didn't want to hear more explanations from her, so she didn't mind. She bowed slightly and left. Harvey walked forward and looked around. In itself, the wind coming from a floor as high as the 77th floor should be very strong, but Harvey only felt a comfortable breeze. But this sky villa is fully equipped with smart furniture, a land-based swimming pool, a wine bar, exquisite artwork, luxurious furniture, and entertainment facilities. And there is a bridge made of transparent crystal outside. Just walk through it and you will reach the sky garden. You can sit in the garden and look at the starry sky close at hand, and you can also overlook the prosperity of the city. If you bring a female companion, it will be easy to capture the woman's confidence. Harvey crossed the sky bridge and came to the garden, where lights lit up directly around him. The scenery of the garden is even more beautiful under the night sky, and with the fresh fragrance of flowers, people can relax unconsciously. Harvey stood on the edge of the garden aisle, overlooking the colorful scenery in the distance decorated with thousands of lights. If we talk about technology, there is no doubt that Xandar Star is far ahead of Blue Star. After all, Blue Star currently doesn't even have space fighters, let alone space battleships. But when it comes to life, Harvey feels that life on Xandar is not too different from when he was in New York. The biggest difference from New York, where he usually lives, is that the security of Xandar is much better because of the presence of the Nova Corps. However, the life energy of these Nova Corps people was much more than that of ordinary people, but not as much as the people of Mowgli he had seen. This means that the overall physical fitness of the Nova Corps is not very strong. But the Xandarians, wearing the special technology of Nova armor, gave them strength that was different from ordinary people. It is also because of this new star armor that he is respected and saluted by many people wherever he goes. Most of the guards who patrol the ground and wear normal military uniforms just say hello and do not specifically salute or show respect. When Harvey first came here, Dam's group of guards who guarded the gate into the city were also wearing this kind of military uniforms. This means that even if you serve the entire race, there are still class distinctions. This class distinction is a good opportunity for him. Harvey has no idea of destroying Xandar, nor does he have any idea of ruling Xandar. He just wants to guide more people from Xandar to join the Void. But before he can lead, he needs to make a name for himself. After he becomes famous, he only needs to spread some rumors, and people will come to him to find out more. On Blue Star, Harvey still had to worry about whether he would attract Ancient One and Odin and cause him countless troubles, but in the universe, he didn't have such worries. Even if Xandar has a Nova core that it is proud of and is feared by countless planets and races, it cannot threaten him. As for those who join the Void to gain power, will it cause huge changes in the class and order of Xandar in the future, or even cause a war? Harvey knew it was inevitable, but he would not interfere with these changes, let alone protect the weak. He knows very well what kind of strength determines what kind of position. He is not yet powerful enough to establish order for the entire universe. But for those who set up layers of restrictions for themselves to constrain themselves in doing things, it would be better to stay at Blue Star honestly. His purpose in coming to the universe is very clear. The vast and boundless universe can speed up his own evolution, allowing him to become powerful enough to live freely without fear of anything. Freedom is not something you can just say. It means if you don't want to do something, don't do it. No one can force you to do it. He also wants to spread the will of the Void in the universe. To this end, he can give any intelligent creature that does not actively oppose him a chance to join the Void. How far those intelligent creatures will grow after joining the Void is not something Harvey has to worry about, at least not yet. Xandar is really good. Harvey looked down at the various features of Xandar and found many different races. Seeing them busy running for life, a smile appeared on his face. At this moment, Sonia had already pushed a big cart and delivered delicious food to the villa. Mr. Cassadine, I have selected different flavors of food for you in the food area. This is for 50 people. Please taste these first. When you finish, I'll go ahead and get you more food. Sonia's voice sounded in the hanging garden, reminding Harvey that it was time to eat. Harvey heard Sonia say that he would continue to get food for himself after eating food for 50 people. He didn't mind. He crossed the sky bridge and came to the seat where Sonia was placing the food. Mr. Cassadine, you are indeed no ordinary person. Sonia saw Cassadine suddenly appear, keeping a professional smile on her face, and said while serving the food. Listening to what you said, I don't seem to be surprised at all. Harvey saw some changes in Sonia's eyes and said, I've been working here since I was 14, so it's been 10 years. I have met many guests, but few have the aura of a superior person like you, Mr. Cassadine. But I have seen many customers with similar superpowers. Everyone in the Nova Corps has strong strength, so there is nothing surprising. Sonia smiled slightly when she heard this, and replied while moving her hands continuously. The accommodation cost of 10,000 yuan a day in a celebrity hotel is not within the reach of ordinary people. Those who can afford it either have a prominent status or possess some amazing strength and ability. The former, no matter how bad they are usually well-known rich people on certain planets, or they may be some nobles or people in high positions. The latter are usually bounty hunters and some strong people who use their superpowers to make a name for themselves. Are you saying that there will be many powerful people at the dance held once a month in the celebrity hotel? Harvey was thoughtful when he heard Sonia's words. Mr. Cassadine came to see you checking in without an appointment. You don't seem to know much about our celebrity hotel. Celebrity hotels are not so much a place where you can enjoy a vacation, but rather a place where you can meet celebrities. As long as you pay the lump sum and stay for 1 month, you will have a chance to enter. The dance is like a masquerade. Both parties will borrow special props to hide their identities. Only when they have a good conversation can they know each other's identity. So you are not wrong to understand it this way. You didn't understand the rules and just paid for a month's stay here. The dance will be held in half a month. If you want to know more when you have time, you can tell me. After Sonia arranged the dishes neatly, She opened a bottle of wine and leaned over to pour the wine gracefully before explaining. That means 300,000 yuan can buy a ticket. If you're interested, I'll go take a look. The golden mask on Harvey's face disappeared, and his face was covered by a layer of golden light that was not dazzling, and he said calmly. Then he picked up his chopsticks and started eating. Quote. Sonia herself is not surprised that Harvey has some special superpowers. However, she found that Harvey's face under the mask could not be clearly seen clearly, which really frightened her. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.